Attention, due to the nature of the films discussed, the Civil Gore podcast may contain adult language and themes.
So, Brian, what are we doing in Georgetown?
Well, I kind of think it'd be good for the show.
Oh, cool. Did you line up another interview for the show?
Well, sort of.
What do you mean, sort of?
Well, it's not an interview per se. It's kind of an exorcism.
A what? An exorcism? What would we possibly know about an exorcism?
Well, I figured we have seen tons of horror movies that we'd be able to figure it out. And besides, it's not like they're possessed with a serious demon or anything.
Wait, so what are they possessed with?
Well, they're possessed with the spirit of some stuffy old film fan who doesn't like horror movies.
That's worse than a demon. All right, let's do it.
Hello? And you are?
We are here to help your daughter.
So which one of you are Kim and which one is Kat?
Huh? Brian, did you want to tell me something?
I sort of used their names to get this gig. I mean, they're too busy counting their iTunes reviews anyway to waste time on this. Well, they couldn't make it, so we came to help.
Well, I guess that's okay. My daughter is upstairs.
Okay, ma'am, what is your daughter's name?
Megan.
Okay, Megan, are you in there?
What are you doing here? You guys are from Civil Gore. Horror movies are crap, and horror movie fans are worse.
Hey, we're not just fans, we're podcasters, and we are really popular.
With only 11 iTunes reviews? Who are you kidding?
Hey, it's hard to get reviews. And besides, we had David Howard Thornton on the show.
Tim, calm down. Remember, it's trying to get to you. Don't give it what it wants.
Who cares if you have the guy that played Ronald McDonald on your show?
Ronald McDonald? He plays Art the freaking Clown, one of the newest horror icons out there.
Tim!
You've seen one clown. You've seen them all.
What? Okay, that's it. It's on, bitch. Tim, quick, grab that bottle out of the bag I gave you and toss it on her.
It burns. It burns. It smells. What is this?
Ha! It's my pumpkin soda that tastes like a Halloween store.
No!
Did it work?
I don't know, let me check. Megan, what do you think of the movie Carrie?
Not hostility, crappy acting, and stupid.
Damn, I guess it didn't work. Let's try again. Follow my lead with this chant. The power of gore compels you.
The power of gore compels you. The power of gore compels you. The power of gore compels you. The power of gore compels you.
Hopefully it worked this time.
Let's see. Megan, what is your favorite movie?
Jaws, and I also love Halloweens, even the Rob Zombie ones. Well, just the first one. I also suddenly have the urge to go to Halloween Horror Nights and the New Jersey Horror Con.
I think we did a good thing here.
Agreed.
Thank you both. How can I ever repay you?
Well, we have a podcast, so maybe a nice iTunes review?
Don't push your luck. Here, take this instead.
Damn, we just can't get these iTunes reviews. Thanks though.
Oh, wow. It's a Blu-ray.
Brian, did you look at which one it is?
Paul Blart 2.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 100 of the Civil Gore podcast. I am your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And Tim, we made it. We made it to 100. And do you remember when 100 was our goal? Where that was our original idea for this podcast, was just to find a list of 100 movies, just watch them all.
Yeah, we were going to do, that was the original idea for the podcast. We were going to do a top 100 movies list and just count down from 100 to 1. And that was going to be the end of it.
That was it, because we didn't know if we were going to, one, like get tired of it, or two, get anybody listening. We weren't sure, but I'm kind of glad we went the other way and just did our thing, because, like, I don't know about you, but this 100 was a piece of cake. I'm ready for, like, 300, 400, 600, you know?
Yeah, I was just thinking the other day how, we've kind of been locked into this top 10 thing for the past 10 episodes where we're trying to do really high caliber, high end horror movies, but I'm kind of looking forward to going back to our quote unquote regular format where we just do whatever we feel like that week. And I know sometimes we do theme months and that kind of thing, but I kind of miss some of the just random, hey, this just came out on Netflix, let's watch this one and do a show on it. So I'm kind of looking forward actually to getting away from the big classic, critically acclaimed horror movies. Not that we're going to cover like schlock or anything, but kind of get back to just whatever we feel like, kind of more free form. So that's what we'll be kind of focusing on after our summer slaycation, which is coming up shortly after episode 100.
There's a good and a bad when we do these type of movies, because I think, while we enjoy them, because they're some of our favorites, of course, like I mean, I had so much fun doing Carrie, particularly, just because that's always been one of my favorites, but there's also some kind of like expectation with those. You feel like there's a little bit of pressure almost, because you have to do it justice. You can't just like yeah, sure, we can do like the Manitou and laugh around about it, or like the Goat Sucker, stuff like that. But when you come up with a movie like Carrie, the one that the majority of the listeners, if not all of them, have seen, and just people, casual horror fans, know about the movie and have seen it. There's this extra expectation where you want to do it justice and you want to do it right. So I see exactly what you mean, and I am looking forward to the Goat Suckers type films out there. It's like it'll be fun, and I think we should probably spice it up too. Like give like every once in a while we'll do some like listener choices, like have people like come in, because we took some suggestions from our listeners and we some of our favorites. Like what was
some of our best episodes?
Remember Lou Boo sent, what was it, dog fight or dog
something.
I think it was Dog
House.
Fight. The Doghouse, it's
something
great.
like that. Yeah.
This was not a great representation of that, Skip. But yeah, and of course David gave us
Blood Feast.
Which one?
2001 Maniacs.
Yeah, 2001 Maniacs, which was we subtitled Civil Gore the movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so we like that too, of course, and of course we have Cody's commentary coming up for Velocipasture, yeah, which I have a feeling could just be an all new epic level of hilarity. So yeah, so it'll be fun getting back to that stuff too.
Yeah, it's also tough coming up with something new to say about a movie that everybody has reviewed and seen and talked about forever in articles. I mean, what are we going to bring to the table? It's kind of tough to do. So yeah, we'll get back to some lesser known or maybe lesser seen movies are something that we can add our own spin to. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Right. And this episode is like, we're already looking past. Look at us. We're hitting our 100th episode. We're already looking past 100. But this episode's got some good things. We got a big surprise coming up after the Dismember, which will leave you hanging just a little bit more.
I'm not even going to tease this one in the show notes. You have to listen to get to it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to we're going to get you fully intrigued and invested in this episode so you can hear what we've been and this is tough because we basically had this one in our back pocket for about almost a month now, I think.
Yeah.
It's been tough not to talk about.
So let's get right into it, guys. This is our first chop. Okay, Brian, so my 40 Years of Terror project continues. This week it was 1975. I was very much looking forward to this one because I love my 70s horror.
You do.
And I found one that was in our top 100 for the top 1,000 horror movies list we've been discussing the past couple weeks. This was in the 60s, I think, and it's Deep Red from the master of the giallo film, Dario Argento. So I had not seen Deep Red, and I figured it would be just another kind of in that same vein of some of these other ones I've seen. And I was blown away by this movie. If you have not seen this one, Brian, this is a fantastic representation of the genre.
Yeah, believe it or not, I think this is one of those ones that have just, it's like when we were talking about those movies that sometimes just escape you. And this one I haven't seen either. So I need to look at this one. I need to watch this.
I would highly recommend this one. This one is about a psychic who is murdered. She didn't see it coming. I know. I know the joke's coming.
Yeah.
No, she really didn't see it coming. And she explains that she can only see things as they happen, which I guess makes us all psychic.
Yeah, wait a minute.
But...
Yeah, does that mean then we're psychic, Tim? Because I could see us recording this 100th episode now.
It reminds me of the Simpsons episode where Lisa goes to the fortune teller and she keeps telling her stuff about herself. And she goes, wow, you can see the present or something. I can't remember what it was, but it's definitely not the future.
Well, that reminds me too, like, it's just the other day, like yesterday, for some reason, Mean Girls was on cable like 3 times throughout the day, and I kept catching it, and that sequence at the end where she could tell her, she goes, it's a 65% chance it's raining right now as she's standing in the downpour. Yeah. So it's like that level of psychic.
Yeah. So, but like most of these giallo films, it's a mysterious killer. We don't see who it is. And people are being murdered, and there's detectives on the case. I mean, it's got every trope from all of those movies, but I understand why this one is held up as like a classic, because it does every one of those tropes so well, and has some great like twisty stuff in it. I don't even want to give anything away. I just thoroughly enjoyed this one, and I would highly recommend seeking this one out. Deep Red from 1975. You will not be disappointed. It's a lot of fun.
Nice. I will have to check. I think it's on Shudder now. Am I right, or is it on Prime? It's on one.
It's on one of them. I see it's on one of them. I can't remember right off the top of my head, but if you have Shudder or Prime, it's on one of those. So, look for it.
Yeah, I want to say Shudder because I think they have that little giallo themed category they have, in their little sections they have. So I think
I'll say this was one of my favorite Argento films I've seen.
Oh wow.
By far.
All right, I definitely need to check this one out then. So I continued my Twilight Zone project, and I got another amazing disc. I'll tell you, the season 3 is shaping up to be just a really, really good season of this show. So
by the way, Brian, looking at this rundown,
yes,
I think you've passed me.
Uh-oh.
I think the last one I watched, and we'll get to it here in a second, was The Midnight Sun.
Oh, okay.
So, I got some catching up to do, I guess.
Yeah, you better catch up. I mean, not that you don't have your own projects, but yeah, I know. That competitive nature in you needs to...
So I may not be able to offer any insightful commentary on some of these.
Well, and I'll try and keep it somewhat as spoiler-free as possible, even though I know you've seen them, but...
Yeah.
So, the first one is Death's Head Revisited, and this one kind of reminds me of... just like they've done this similar one before this plot point, but I like the way this one did it. It's a former German SS captain returns to Dachau concentration camp and begins reminiscing on the power he enjoyed there until he finds himself on trial by those who died at his hands. And this one is super creepy.
Yeah, I like this one.
Yeah, but it's really good. It's like one of those ones where it's like like some of these have like some of the best Twilight Zone type of motifs it has to offer on this disc. So this is definitely one disc that you want to look at. I mean, season 3 in general is just great. The next one is, as Tim just mentioned, this one was always been one of my favorites too, The Midnight Sun. And it's when Earth falls out of orbit, 2 women try to cope with the increasingly oppressive heat in a nearly abandoned city. And this one actually is like grueling to watch a little bit, even though it's one of my favorites.
Out. Yeah, it really kind of creeped me out because I was thinking like, how horrible it would be to be in that situation where the Earth is just getting hotter and hotter and hotter.
Yeah, and this one's actually really like one of those ones where, you know what, when you hear scientists say that this could happen, it's like, so this one, this one always used to creep me out a little as a kid, which is why I love it so much. I mean, even now watching it, I'm just like, wow, this is kind of like, It's definitely like there's a big element of real fear embedded in this one, which was what I liked about it. The next one is called Still Valley, and it says some Hill Valley. Just notice that it says June 1863. Confederate soldiers come across a warlock who can help bring victory to the Southern cause. This one was kind of cool, too, because it's just like, it took a real-life event and kind of added some mysticism to it, which I kind of like when Twilight Zone does that every so often. Like, they did that with that Abe Lincoln one, and the one where, well, actually, there were two Abe Lincoln ones. I guess one where they was trying to prevent him from being shot, and the other one where he comes and visits him at the end, and the whole thing.
Have you ever, speaking of that, Brian, have you ever read any books by Harry Turtledove?
No, that's the last name. I'm already thinking of the Christmas Carol. So.
Now it's just this episode reminded me he wrote a great novel called The Guns of the South, and it was where some people who were sympathetic to the South's cause, like in modern times, found a way to go back in time and give the the Confederate Army, machine guns.
Oh, wow.
So that they could defeat the North and change the outcome of the Civil War. It was a really fascinating book.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, it was really neat.
Oh, neat. So the next one is The Jungle. It says, a businessman who recently returned from Africa is stalked by superstitions and warnings of a witch doctor. This one was really, really cool. Because it's like, the whole time you can't tell if it's his paranoia, if there's really something going on. It's just a lot of creepy sequences that are going on. And it's just one of those ones where there's this like isolation, this unrealistic isolation that the person's going through as they're walking through a city street, that literally, could have a lot of people on it, but it's kind of just him. And, so you're not sure if what's going on is real or in his mind. And those are always some of the best Twilight Zone episodes that have that. This next one, I have to say, I had seen it once and I kind of forgot about it. And watching it again is now one of my favorite Twilight Zones ever. And this one is one of, by far, the most unique ones. And I don't know if you remember this one, called Once Upon a Time. And it's janitor Woodrow Mulligan gets a trip from 1890 to 1962 courtesy of an employer's time helmet. And what's so amazing about this is it stars Buster Keaton. And
wow.
And so when he's in the 1860s, it plays out like an 1860s silent Buster Keaton film. And when he goes to 1962, it becomes a regular speed. He talks and there's interaction and it's going on, but it still has that, it almost becomes a different form of comedy, almost like a Laurel and Hardy, because he befriends this guy, or Abbott and Costello, and they're basically trying to get his thing fixed. So it's almost like a zany comedy. And it's just
weird.
It's so amazing. And then they, eventually, little spoiler alert, they both go back there, and then it goes back to where they were all doing. It's like a silent picture again, a silent movie, and it's just one of the coolest, most unique Twilight Zones ever. It really is and after watching it today, I was just like, you know what? I think this might be one of my favorite ones now, because I remember seeing it once before. And I'm like, why have I not watched this more often? I almost want to go back and watch it again. It was that good. Because I'm a big, huge Buster Keaton fan anyway. So, yeah, definitely check this one out. I'm looking forward to when you catch up to this one, Tim, because you really like that one. And then another one, The 5 Characters in Search of an Exit. Another classic Twilight Zone. You've always seen the picture of that creepy clown who actually, little piece of trivia, the actor that played him was also in Twilight Zone the movie. He played in the Kick the Can episode. He played Mr. Agee, the one that was that was a sword fighter, and he's like, Agee, get your hands off my wife. The guy yelled at him because he's like a swashbuckler, that guy. So, but anyway, so it's an army major awakens in a small room with no idea of who he is or how he got there. He finds 4 other people in the same room, and they all begin to question how they each arrived there, and more importantly, how to escape. That's the one where there's a clown, a ballerina, a hobo, an officer, and I forgot there's one other. And so that one was just a really, really cool episode. And then the next one is A Quality of Mercy, and it's a hotshot new Lieutenant Cattell tries to make his mark on the last day of World War II in the Pacific and gets a unique perspective on his actions. And that's one of those, it's kind of like a similar one where it's like they get a taste of what it's like on another side of another perspective, basically. That classic Twilight Zone formula that's been used a bunch, but it's still really well done. And so it was a good capper to the disc in general.
Yeah, that's a fantastic season because you see all these episodes that are so famous.
Right, like I think it really in season 3 it must have really got its groove. Like they were they were doing more experimental ones like that. Of course that the Buster Keaton one, and then they got some really more like dark horror ghosty ones. It's just a really good season so far. It's been definitely one of my favorites. So,
all right, next up, Bruce Campbell confirms a fully immersive Evil Dead game is coming, and we kind of alluded to this a week or two ago when we talked about that mysterious tweet that he sent out.
Yeah,
which we said is probably related to the Evil Dead game. And this kind of lends more credence to the idea that tweet was referring to this. Now, what does fully immersive mean? I don't know. Is it going to be VR enabled? Who knows?
Yeah, he didn't really give much of a clue other than saying that it's going to not be Ash in the same form we're used to. Like he said I saw in the article, he said that Ash is gone, whatever that means. So I don't know if this is, so he's giving the very cryptic clues here and kind of giving us little teases, but he's not really giving us details.
All right, this next one you knew was bound to happen. The Momo Challenge is getting a movie called Getaway, which is kind of weird for a Momo movie, but
yeah.
If you guys don't know what Momo is, it was a piece of art that depicts this. It was a sculpture of this weird-looking bird-looking lady, and the photo went viral, and it's very creepy. I mean,
it's
super creepy. And then this whole like creepypasta legend came up around how this thing would try to get people to kill themselves, and then it became a YouTube thing where it was trying to get children to kill themselves, and there's this whole paranoia about it. I mean, my daughter's school even sent a letter home about this stupid thing.
Oh my god!
And
wow.
So our kids, of course, ended up seeing pictures of it, and I was trying to explain to them, it's not real. It's a piece of art. It's just a stupid story. And then, of course, that night, later on, they started crying because they got scared because they were thinking of the Momo face.
You're on a good year with them and trying to introduce them to horror. You traumatize them in Seas of Extinction, and now you have Momo coming after them.
So yeah, my kids fell victim to Momo. But I'll read you the synopsis here. This follows a group of unsuspecting teenagers, because aren't they all unsuspecting?
Right. They're never suspecting. Not one is ever suspecting.
Who, in their last summer before college, find themselves in a secluded cabin in the woods, original, where unusual occurrences unfold. In ghost story fashion, one tells the story of the urban legend Momo, a strange spirit of a bird-like woman that taunts its victims with specific personal details and violent commands via text message and phone calls. I'm sorry, this thing is so silly to me.
I know. I was going to say, if you ever wanted to not be afraid of Momo, just read the synopsis and you're cured.
What starts out as a harmless prank soon turns more sinister over the next 24 hours as the teens start disappearing without any motive or pattern.
Yeah, like literally, why did they basically took like 9 plots of other horror movies and put them all into one and then slap Momo on it. It's like...
it's
they
so
couldn't
funny.
have thought of something better. Like if I would have had the Momo license, right? I would have been super creative with it and have created a whole backstory, a brand new backstory, just using the face.
Yeah,
you know?
could. I mean, you could literally insert any horror movie villain, Slender Man, Bigfoot. You could put any villain thing in here.
Yeah.
And it would be the same movie.
And literally, Cabin in the Woods, they had to use that exact term. At least disguise that. But they didn't even do that. They just, oh my God. I'm like, I was sitting there and like, like you said, you knew the movie was coming, and I had some hopes for it because you look at that damn face and it's creepy. Now I want to look at it and just laugh at it because I know, like, you know how like silly the whole thing is in the end. But like, I would have came up with a whole backstory to this thing and made it maybe the origin story of it, or just totally try and make it original and just use the face. That's all you needed.
Yeah.
That was the creepy part.
I don't know. I've seen it so many times now and seen so many memes that I can't even imagine this being scary anymore.
Yeah, you know what? Now it just looks like someone's bad representation of Alec Baldwin in Beetlejuice when he pulled his face off and he popped the eyes. Like, that's kind of, it's not even as scary. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Anytime somebody says face off, I have to say
I know. You have to bring the kid. It's a rule. you actually, they come and get you and arrest you if you don't say that. So Tim is safe.
Next up, Funko Classic Monsters. They have a wave of mystery minis.
Right. You know what this is, Tim, right?
Yeah.
This is like, couldn't have been more of a Tim thing to come out with.
Yeah. So these are, these are going to have Frankenstein with Flower, Mummy, Invisible Man Clear variant, Wolfman, Bride of Frankenstein, Dracula with Candle, Creature from the Black Lagoon, which is going to cause me to spend all my money on.
I know, which Tim will get 48 versions of this before he gets, of course.
Yeah. The Mole People and Phantom of the Opera. Walgreens will be getting an exclusive set in black and white. So I
kind of want to get that one. Yeah, because that's going to be really good. The black, and I saw a picture of that one. Someone had posted both sets, the color version and the black and white version. I'm like, yeah, kind of digging the black and white version. Kind of gives it a cool cool display if you get them
for these Universal monsters, I definitely would like the black and white.
Yeah, so now one more thing Tim and I can spend our money on. It's like not like the summer's bad enough coming up with my Disneyland trip with the Star Wars and all this stuff. I'm gonna this is not the summer of saving.
Speaking of spending money, NECA is releasing a Gremlins Caroling 2-pack coming in September. So I'm sure that's the Caroler.
Yeah, it's the ones that tormented Miss Deagle with that.
Those were great.
Yeah,
one of my favorite scenes. I love that.
Oh, yeah. If only they made like a cool Miss Deagle. That would be a great ornament of Mrs. Deagle just like flying up the stairway.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Wouldn't that be a great little like holiday ornament with it moving where you can, she just goes up and down and you can play the music and stuff.
That would be awesome.
And then, if you want, you can add it like, Copic, come here. That's my wish, that little extra thing.
So I have a couple things that are not on the rundown, Brian, I'm going to go through before we do our last announcement. Number one, there's images out now of the new Chucky in his evil face. I don't usually talk bad, and I'm going to give this movie a chance, I promise. But that thing looks like freaking hot garbage. It looks terrible. It's terrible.
Hot garbage.
Somebody had posted a side-by-side of the 1988 Chucky and the 2019 Chucky, like the scary version, the mean version. And the 1988 one looks like 10 million times better. I mean, objectively looks better. Even without the nostalgia part. I mean, the animatronics and stuff look better on the old Chucky than this piece of plastic crap. Oh, it looks. Oh, I've been saying I will give this movie a chance. I don't agree with what they did. I don't agree with how they screwed over the franchise that's already healthy, and and just because they had the rights, they decided to make a movie out of it. I don't like that whole thing, and that's what kind of made me sour on the whole movie. But then seeing this crap version. And then they're going to put AI in it, so of course it's going to date the movie. It's going to make it just unrealistically I hate unrealistic technology stuff anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's literally like you're taking Terminator and Chucky, mixing it together. Why?
It just looks bad.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I'd be I'd still be annoyed with that plot point, regardless. But the fact that, like you said, the original franchise is still going strong. There's a TV series coming from Don Mancini, and that's the Chucky everyone wants, with Brad Dourif and Fiona Dourif and all. It's like, why?
The doll just looks dumb. It looks stupid. It's not even. Doesn't even look like scary or anything. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm
I just
very
and to me, it's like if this was maybe. It's funny though. This plot point, as much as I don't agree with it, would have worked better in the '80s when people thought that was
when they were doing all the
computer.
crazy possessed computer stuff because they didn't understand computers. Yeah.
Yeah, now it's just like if that's their way of trying to get like that retro '80s feel, well, you're not doing it.
No. And then the next thing I had on my rundown, I'm just going to give you a sneak preview. I ordered one of the Loot Fright boxes. So I've been dying for Loot Crate to make a horror box because I used to subscribe to Loot Crate, and they finally did do a horror box. And I've never ordered one. I had a great deal where I could get like 50% off on one. So I went ahead and ordered it. It's probably just going to be a one-time, one-off, but it has stuff from The Shining and Jaws inside of it. So I had to grab it. Yeah. And so when I get that in, which I think will be sometime next month, we're going to do an unboxing episode and kind of give you guys a review of what Loot Fright is and whether you would maybe want to subscribe to it. And it'll be see if it's something I want to keep subscribing to or not.
Yeah, you know what? And I should do. I want to buy a box of the, try and order online like a box of those the monsters Funko minis too, and that'd be a fun unboxing thing. Also.
Oh, that would be really fun.
You know, we could do it on video, and
we could trade doubles and stuff. That'd be cool.
Yeah, like that'd be cool.
Yeah.
So we should do that.
So speaking of announcements for our episode 100, we had some Civil Gore announcements coming up because kind of looking forward to the future. Brian, I'm gonna let you start off with the first one. Actually, I'm going to let you start off with the first. Actually, all of these are Brian's hard work has been put into these.
The third one is really yours.
But Brian got the ball rolling. Let's put it that way.
Well, yeah, by just basically putting out the credit card. That was it. But yeah. So the first one is, and this was something because we had a lot of kind of like requests to kind of do that. We've had a couple of situations where people wanted to send us stuff and we didn't do that. So we were in works of trying to get the first, I thought I had it nailed down. And then I just, at the last minute, I looked at the service and I don't think it was going to serve us as well as I thought, but I'm trying to see, not necessarily go with the regular one, but I may end up going with it. And that's a post office box for Civil Gore. So if you ever want to send us, some fun stuff, like I know we have our good buddy David has something for us he wants to send us, so, and we promised him too specifically that we'd have this done, so we're working on that, so hopefully within the next couple of weeks we'll be able to announce the details of where you can send Civil Gore stuff. So if you want to send us some fun prizes and stuff, and like especially whoever wins the Pole Blart 2 may want to send it back.
Yeah.
So
you have a way to return your garbage from
yeah. Which we still need to post. We need to post the pictures of the prize winner.
Yeah. Now that stuff is not garbage. That is stuff I would keep. Yeah, that's really, really good stuff for the prize pack. And if you put in an iTunes review, we will enter you into that drawing. And it has to be a written iTunes review so we can see your
of course,
handle and all that.
The thing. And then the next one is another one I thought would be fun, which is not as fun as I originally thought because they stopped doing this because I was trying to get we want to get a Civil Gore voicemail and through Google Voice, and they used to be able to let you pick it by word, so we wanted to get like 1-800 like for Gore or something. And one afternoon I literally spent like 3 hours like looking at every state possible to try and get something that spelled out Gore. And I got Gore, but we couldn't really get the good first 3 letters. So, but we are working on that too. I may look at some other services other than Google Voice. So we're going to try and work on getting a Civil Gore voicemail. So now you can like not only just email us and share social media with us, but you can actually talk to us and we'll hear your voice. And, of course, we can play it on the show.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be good to listen. Get some voicemails that we can play on the show and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be fun. And finally, the one, Brian got the ball rolling. I've been working on it a little bit. I haven't been able to dedicate as much time as I'd like to, especially since the letterbox thing kind of took over some of the functionality that the website was going to, but I think we're still going to need the website, is a Civil Gore website. Yep. Like I said, we're going to use this. Originally, I was going to use it to link to all our movies, and I have like big graphics and everything. I'm still working out the details of how that's going to look, but essentially what I'd like the website to be is announcements of new episodes. It's going to be an archive so that you can click and just listen to all of our old episodes. And then also we want to have some kind of blog or something on there. So not only can we post pictures and stuff from our trips and our cons and stuff, but also kind of just have like some blog articles on there. So, there might be something during the week that Brian and I, maybe it happened right after we recorded and we want to just jot something up there or give our thoughts on something, like how bad the new Chucky looks.
Yeah. Or we may just want to do a full-on movie review, but like written,
Yeah, there's a lot of times, guys, that I watch movies during the week that I never mention on the podcast. Not because I intentionally mean to leave them out, but maybe there's just not space to do so. And maybe it's just a quick 2-line sentence I want to get out there. So that's the point of the website. We're going to try to get that up fairly soon. Again, websites are a lot of work to get off the ground. Once we get it up and running, it'll be pretty easy to keep it updated because we have a good service that's on. But it just takes a little front end work to try to get it off the ground so that when we present it and do publish it, you guys have enough on there to entertain you. So.
Yeah, and we'll do like a little, of course we'll put like this little Civil Gore staff page of stuff, and a little bit like bios of all of the people that because you want to know more about Cone than we let on the show.
He's a man of mystery, an international man of mystery. But
that mystery could be unrevealed. Could be now revealed. He will be unmasked.
Cone
so
unmasked.
Know all about Cone. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, let's get into our next segment. These are the Blu-ray releases for May 28th, 2019. Our dismemberment.
Wait, no, please, God. No, don't call up,
All right, Brian, it's kind of a short week this week, so I did not have any for you to guess on because all of these were they were too recent, and I was afraid you already had seen them.
I kind of, and I actually know the plots to the first three right off the bat anyway, so.
Yeah, so it was this one was kind of tough, so we're not going to have a Brian guess this week, but I did want to go through these real quick in case there's something of interest. The first one up is Climax from 2018, released by Lionsgate, directed by Gaspar Noé.
What?
Noé?
No, yeah, I will say this based on other Gaspar Noé films. I will make a guess. There will be a lot of boobs.
I have heard this film is really crazy. One guy had left a review and he said, I'm still processing it, but he said there were things I loved, things I hated, and things that I were completely indifferent to. So I don't know.
Yeah, he's got a lot. I don't know if you've seen any of his films, but yeah, they're like, they're basically, if you can pick an unrated type of movie, that's pretty much his forte there. So.
Well, this one stars Sofia Boutella, Romain Guillermic, and Suila Yacoub. French dancers gather in a remote, empty school building to rehearse on a wintry night. The all-night celebration morphs into a hallucinatory nightmare when they learn their sangria is laced with LSD. Has one special feature, a visceral experience, making climax. This sounds like sort of Mandy-ish to me, like a kind of a hallucinatory nightmare.
Yeah, by the way, one of his really known ones was that one Irreversible. It was really tough to watch, by the way. This was with Monica Bellucci, where it's like, it's basically a woman's rape is played out over the course of the night. It's really it's a really rough one, but it's very stylistic. But that one got a lot of press when that one came out. Plus, it's got Monica Bellucci, who's fantastic. So yeah, that one. I remember I had seen it on it was either on Shudder or Prime. And it was tough to get through and watch. It was really brutal.
Yeah.
Not in like a brutal, like bad film way, brutal, like tough to watch scenes.
Yeah.
So.
The next one up is Lords of Chaos from 2018, released by MVD Visual, directed by Jonas Ackerlund, starring Rory Culkin, Emery Cohen, and Jack Kilmer. A teenager's quest to launch Norwegian black metal in Oslo in the early 1990s results in a very violent outcome. And this one has 11 directors, teasers, and trailers. So I don't know much about this one, but I'm kind of interested because it has Norwegian black metal. I love
but
any kind of
like a true story on this.
I'm sure there was. There's a lot. That's kind of a popular metal origin, but I'm a sucker for any kind of Nordic music, like anything from like Norway, Sweden, any of those countries like that. I love that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of
Yeah,
interested
you know
in that
what?
one.
This might be there was that on Ghosts on the Grave Girls podcast. Sorry, I said Grave Girls podcast. They I think told the true story of this, where I guess one of the guys like killed someone and like used it for profit. He killed the guy and like used the bloody pictures for stuff. It's a really dark true, and I think this is the true story because I'm looking at the and I see some of the reviews. This is based on a true story, actually.
I think the Disgraced podcast might have done that. Disgraceland podcast. They do it's a podcast about musicians that have done crimes.
Yeah.
And I believe they covered this one too. If it's the same one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, because I remember Euronymous, that name, I think. Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, this is and Varg. Yeah, this is the whole. Yeah, this is based off the true story. Now I don't know the liberties they took on it for the movie, so I don't know if it's like a biopic or it's just based on it with the true character. You know how they take liberties on these things, so I don't know. But but that was actually a good episode. When I listened to on the Grave Girls podcast, that went into the true story of this. It was pretty interesting.
Nice, very
disturbing, but interesting. So.
Next up is a sequel to one I covered a while back, When a Stranger Calls Back, 1993, released by Shout Factory, directed by Fred Walton. This is, of course, a sequel to When a Stranger Calls, starring Carol Kane, Charles Durning, and Jill Schulin.
From The Stepfather.
I don't know why. This synopsis is exactly the same as the original film. A young babysitter all alone in the house with 2 children asleep above is bothered by a stranger. Unfortunately, the phone's dead. So
yeah, and this one had one of the. I'm not going to say what, but this I remember had one of the most creepy sequences I've ever seen in a horror movie. I'll just leave it at that.
This one has I can't remember if I watched this one either. When I watched When a Stranger Calls, I can't remember if I went ahead and watched this one or not. I'll have to get
this was either a Showtime or Cinemax, one of the, or I want to say Showtime original movie. It was like a direct, it was a TV level movie, but a cable TV level movie. And I remember, but I just remember if you get a chance, it's actually it's on Prime for free right now, Tim, if you want to watch it.
Okay.
So, but there is a creepy sequence towards the end, which I'll just leave it at that. And I'll let you discover it. So report back on our next episode.
Okay.
If you get a chance to watch it, or whenever you do watch it, just report back and see if you can guess the scene I'm talking about.
All right. Well, this has a brand new 2K remaster of the film. It has the original 133:1 original TV broadcast ratio, as well as a 178. It has an interview with a new interview with Fred Walton, a new interview with actress Carol Kane, a new interview with actress Jill Scholin, Fred Walton's original short film, The Sitter, and a TV spot. So that's a good disc. I like that one.
Yeah. And actually, and Charles Durning does not do the sidestep from Best Little Whorehouse in Texas in this movie, by the way. He keeps it straight, seriously. Straight, serious horror movie. No comedic slant to it at all.
Next up is one of those I love these weird out of left field Shout Factory releases. This is The Alligator People from 1959, directed by Roy Del Ruth, starring Beverly Garland, Bruce Bennett, and Lon Chaney Jr., of all people. A woman in a hypnotic state recounts to 2 doctors the details of a horrific experience from her past life that began with the mysterious and sudden disappearance of her husband. This is a new audio commentary with the Monster Party podcast featuring James Gonas, Sean Sheridan, Larry Stroth, and Matt Weinhold. Again, why they didn't call us, I don't know.
And now I'm starting to get annoyed because we've offered it many a time. So.
And if you've ever heard our excellent Thanksgiving commentary, you would know we do excellent audio commentaries.
Yes,
or Piranha
actually,
3D.
We're very good at the Thanksgiving-themed commentaries because we did, what was the other one? Blood Rage.
Yeah.
Right? That's not
and then we're going to do Planes, Trains, and Automobiles this Thanksgiving.
Right.
So we're gonna
See, that's just our time. So next, maybe if Thanksgiving 4 comes out, they'll call us onto the disc.
Also has an original theatrical trailer and a still gallery. Next up, my pick of the week, The Uncanny from 1977. This is a Severin Films release directed by Dennis Haru, starring the fantastic Peter Cushing, Ray Milland, and Joan Greenwood. Wilbur Gray, a horror writer, has stumbled upon a terrible secret that cats are supernatural creatures who really call the shots, and I can vouch for this, having 2 of them myself. In a desperate attempt to get others to believe him, Wilbur spews 3 tales of feline horror. So this is a cat anthology.
Wow, it's a catthology. So this is like a cat anthology before Cat's Eye.
Yeah. Although, if I was going to make a cat anthology, I'd have to have 9, so you'd have 9 lives.
Yeah, see
9
that
stories.
Kickstarter. We haven't done a Kickstarter in a while.
That's right.
And we could call it the Cat 09 Tales because we know that real one's never coming out.
Yeah, but we'll do Tales, Tales.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. All right, now that we've just given it away, probably someone's already writing it. But that maybe that's our next project. There we go.
I'm sitting here thinking of cat puns. I'm like, just don't say it, Tim. Just don't say it.
Oh, come on. You got to have some, Tim.
I was going to say meowerder on the Orient Express or something. I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking of a murder mystery with cats. And I was thinking of, like, in my mind, I'm thinking cats and little top hats, like solving a mystery on a train. My mind goes into weird places when we start talking about cats.
I could see that, though. I could see that. I think that's what we need to do. Oh, wait, would the film be in litter box?
And it would star the famous detective Hercule Poirot.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a good pun for him, but I couldn't think of it. Oh, there you go. Tim got it.
Oh, I love my kitties. Brand new remaster of the film. And an interview with actress Susan Penhaligon.
Which is not big enough to be in the top 3, but
no.
Apparently she was important enough to do the Cat's Victim documentary.
Yeah, and an original trailer. I know this one does not have the special features that normally warrant a pick of the week, but it's a cat anthology. I couldn't resist.
Yeah, so. I mean, come on. How many? I mean, literally, we've only named 2 cat anthologies, not counting ours to be released shortly.
And Cat's Eye technically is not a cat anthology because it's just a cat running through the anthology.
Right, that's true. But I mean, it's I mean, I'm trying to just stretch the genre a little bit to support our forthcoming cat anthology film. So they could say, first came, which I already forgot that title is, first came The Uncanny, then came Cat's Eye.
Then Cat O' Nine Tails.
Yeah.
And then our spinoff, which will be Meowerder on the Orient Express.
Yes. See, so we have it all set. Our future's planned.
Or we could make it the Siamese Express.
Oh, that's true.
So have Siamese cats involved.
Yeah, they're and they'd all be in unison, so it's kind of be like that extra little like twist to it. I like it. Oh, and then if to think about it, then we can do we don't have to stay with just like house cats. We can go to like lions and have Terror Train. But,
we're gonna open up a line of train cat themed horror.
Listen, that is a genre that's been just dying to come out.
It's ripe for exploration.
It has. I guarantee you, nobody has been thinking of that.
Cats on a train. Just the cat train horror subgenre. Yeah, I'm down for that.
It could be the Canterbury Tales too. We could do that.
Oh.
Yeah, we're obviously the strain of 100 episodes has now taken over. Now we're just running on pun fumes.
Oh my god, okay.
Yeah, now I feel bad because now this next surprise that we're about to release is going to be, I mean, I don't think it'll ever be overshadowed by cat puns, but it wasn't the greatest lead-in we probably had hoped for this next surprise.
Oh, we're sorry to our next guest.
Yes, which, by the way, there's all kidding aside, let's reset and give the proper reveal of this. This was something that we were very excited about, and it really is kind of like a dream come true at some level to get this kind of an interview. So I'll let Tim open it because I think I gave when we play the interview, I think I did the intro. So I'll let Tim do this intro and give the big reveal here.
Yeah, so we have been sitting on this interview, like Brian said, for about a month, and it's because it was such a fantastic interview and one that were just delighted to get this person on the show. So we decided to save it for our episode 100. I hope she's not disappointed that we saved it, but we were trying to save the best for episode 100, and that's the reason we sat on it for a little while. Fantastic, super excited, and you will hear in our upcoming interview how fanboyish we were because we were so excited to interview the fantastic Felissa Rose from Sleepaway Camp. I will say we, in terms of audio, this was our one of our first Skype recordings, so you may hear some environmental noises and some background stuff. But I think it actually lends to the charm of the interview because Felissa's just so down to earth.
Oh, she's the best.
And so without further ado, let's take it away, our interview with Felissa Rose.
Okay, so when Tim and I started this podcast, we had no clue of what it would really be. You know, we kind of decided that if we just settle, if it was just two guys talking about horror movies for how long is anyone to listen? But, every so often, though, you get like a moment in the podcast that kind of takes it to a new level. And I think this next guest is going to do that. So without further ado, I want to introduce the iconic, amazing, and world championship hugger, I may add, Felissa Rose.
Oh, my gosh. I love you guys. That is so sweet. And thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for being on the show. It's awesome.
It means the world to me. You have no idea. Like,
oh my God!
So
we could be saying that same thing.
No,
we are saying it.
You'll never understand how grateful I really am. Thank you. It means everything to me.
See, now I'm all blushing. You guys can't see this, but him
and
I are probably
that's why we didn't do video. That's right.
Yeah. That's the real reason we didn't do video.
That's great.
All right, so I guess we'll kick things off with, is it hard work being so awesome?
Stop. I don't know. Go ask yourself that.
Okay, right back at us.
Okay, seriously though. So you are so outgoing in real life, and I've been dying to ask you this. Angela is this shy little teenager. Were you really like that as a teenager, or is that like just some brilliant acting?
Well, I don't know about the acting part, but I was definitely very outgoing. And I always say, like, in between the takes where I'm staring, I would like laugh and joke around because I've always been, a lover of life and happiness. And it was just so exciting to be on that set. So, I've never been a shy person. No.
Okay. That's not surprising now that we know you. So,
yes.
I know. I've always been like this, like, I want to hug you and joke around.
No, but that's the best part, though. That's what is so memorable, and that's why, we became like we were already fans, and we were like super fans after coming out of that con. And it was funny too to Tim's thing about you being shy. It was so funny because like I rewatched Sleepaway Camp this weekend just in getting excited for the interview, and it really was funny because I found myself like getting so excited when you spoke because I'm used to I hadn't seen it in a while, and I'm used to the Felissa Rose that speaks and jokes and laughs, and I'm like, and when you finally said something, I was like, yes, all right.
Oh, that is so cute. I love it. That's awesome.
But so anyway though, but so speaking of Sleepaway Camp though, that's where the people know you best from. But you've been acting regularly and you have just a ton of credit. So what were some of your favorite non-Sleepaway Camp projects?
I love Victor Crowley, which is Hatchet 4 by Adam Green. I'm super proud of that movie. I think it's an amazing film, and working with him was just one of the best experiences I've ever had, both with the cast and working with him as a director was sensational. I've been a fan of the franchise. So when he said, "Oh, I have this role for you," I just thought I was going to die, and my death there is pretty, it's pretty wild. So, but that's great. And I love the Harrison Smith movies that I've done: Camp Dread, Zombie Killers, Garlic and Gunpowder, which is actually a comedy. And I play this 350-pound mob, like drug dealing lunatic. So that was
great. My gosh.
Yeah, that's a really fun film. I mean, those movies all kind of just ring a bell where we had the most amazing time on set, and I love the cast and the crew. and a few things that are coming up now, but I can't. I'm kind of like, I've been saying I'm on gag order. Like, I did a movie with Kane called Knife Corp, where he's in a very dramatic role and he's incredible. So there's stuff coming up that I'm really proud of.
Is it Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker? You can
Yes,
tell us
it
that.
is.
We won't say anything.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know. It's so funny when like we're told not to say anything. I'm like, come on, I just want to like scream it. You know?
Well, speaking of that, is there any person that's been a favorite for you to act with?
Oh, I love, like I said, I love Kane Hodder. He's been just someone that I still am, but I've always been a huge fan of, and his acting is so superb. I mean, we know him as Jason and Victor Crowley, and just his stunts are mesmerizing. But he, as a person to work with and to know as a friend, he's spectacular. He's a really good man.
Yeah,
He seems cool. I got to meet him once, and you did too, right, Tim? You met him at a convention once?
Yeah, I met him at Mad Monster Party, and I got to get the famous choke picture with Kane Hodder.
You
choking
did?
Me. Yeah, and let me tell you, he really chokes you. That's not an act. I was a little scared for a minute.
Yeah,
so
actually,
funny.
Tim sounded different until that, and that strangle crushed his larynx, so that's how he got his dulcet tones that he has now.
But I got to see him chop a cake with a machete, which was really cool. That was fun too. So, he seems super cool.
And he has such a big heart. Like, he's such a good man. He's so sweet. So, yeah, I love Kane. I love working with him.
Yeah, because he was actually pretty good. I mean, I know he played mostly Victor Crowley, but when he played his father in that, he was, there was some, like,
he was emotional,
good acting
and he's
chops
emotional
there.
in Death House as well. He gives a great performance, but
I still
in
need
Knife
to see
Court,
that.
yeah, that's quite the cast. Very iconic
wow.
cast. Dee Wallace
yeah,
and Barbara Crampton.
Yeah, Death House, right? You said Death House was the big
Death
cast, right?
House.
Yeah,
Huge,
I know.
yeah.
Oh my God, I saw that. Wow.
Yeah, that was
Really
a big
cool.
group. Yeah, and that's Harrison Smith. I mean, I've worked with him a lot. He's one of my business partners, so it's been fun doing a lot of horror movies with him and Garlic and Gunpowder.
I'm like jotting this down. I'm like, okay, this is my
It's on your next
post-interview
watch list.
homework. I need to make sure I watch every single one of these things that I mentioned now.
You're
If I
so
didn't see it
sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
So
you.
you were in Hatchet. Was there any other horror franchises that you would love to be a part of going forward?
I mean, I'd love to be a part of Friday the 13th, I don't know if they're remaking or rebooting or anything's happening, but we'll see,
Well,
I've
supposedly
heard some
LeBron
stuff.
James.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know what's going to happen, though,
Well, you have the cane in.
Time will tell. We'll see. I didn't know, like, the whole Hatchet thing. I've always been a fan. And then when Adam called me, I was shocked. That was a big surprise to be a part of that movie, that franchise.
Yeah, and you were great in that one. I remember I got so excited because I saw it when it did that tour around the different cities.
Yes.
I was lucky enough, I happened to be in California visiting. My wife's from the Bay Area, so we were back there for a wedding, and I got to see it in San Francisco. It was touring, so I was so excited. I remember when I saw you on there, I'm like, oh my God, that's Melissa Rose.
That's so funny. And did you meet Adam? Did you go?
No, he wasn't one where he was at, unfortunately. It was just showing it. There was really no
I'm so happy you saw
accoutrements
them.
to it. Oh yeah, I loved the Hatchet series.
Yeah, so do I. And I've been working with Dave Sheridan on a bunch of films. So he and I have gotten really close. He's a great actor. And Tiffany Shepis and Laura Ortiz, a great group of people, Perry Shen. So.
Oh yeah, he's hilarious because he always just finds his way into every Hatchet movie.
I know every character. It's like, well, I'll just play him.
He's like, I'm his brother now. Yeah,
That's so funny.
That was great. So actually, it's funny when you mentioned Tiffany Shepis. It brought me back to the convention again. So, and I know we kind of we were talking about this. So I know you do a lot of conventions. But
yes.
And I'm sure you have your favorites, but what's your favorite part just in general of the convention circuit?
I mean, just meeting everyone. Like for me, the conventions are all about the connection and the energy in the room, talking to people. I happen to be a horror fan myself. So it's like I do like to go around and meet all of the actors, all the celebrity guests. And I don't know, I just, everything about it. I love the parties. I love meeting, meeting everyone. It's just the best.
And then it leads to coming on the Civil Gore podcast.
And then I go to Civil Gore, and then I feel like, woohoo, baby. Exactly.
Yeah, no, and you know what it is for those who have not. I'll just say this now. For those who have not been to a convention and got to meet Felissa, you are missing out because seriously, she makes it. It's such a great interaction because she makes sure she interacts with everybody and just will have a conversation and pictures and just is all. Yeah, your energy is like infectious actually.
Thank you. I feel like it's so important though. I mean, I know when I go to people's table, like I want to feel that. I want that experience. I really want to connect with that person. I've seen them in movies I love. It's just, that's the most enjoyable part. It's like really getting to know someone. And I try to, meet each person and get to know them.
Yeah, and that was another thing I noticed about actually New Jersey HorrorCon, the camaraderie between the guests. It's like it seems like you guys known each other for years. Some of you. Yeah,
and we didn't. In fact, I was saying like I got to meet the Terrifier guys who I love.
They're
David
awesome.
Howard Thornton and Damien Leone. They were so incredible. Did you meet them?
Yes.
Yeah.
We actually had David on the show once.
How
he is
amazing
awesome.
is he?
He really
he's incredible.
Is great.
Yep.
Yeah, and I saw your epic picture with him where you guys are strangling each other. Yeah, that one's great.
I
almost wanted to buy that one now. I'm like, why didn't I see that as an option? I would have bought that.
I love him. I think he's so powerful in that movie, and I can't wait for Terrifier 2. They're just great guys. So if you go to a convention, definitely check them out because they are down to earth and fun and just really warm people. And I think that's what you want. I want to go to a table and feel like, oh my God, they're excited to meet everyone.
Yeah,
Right.
and that's not as common as you think. I've been to conventions where you can kind of tell that some people are just going through the motions, but there was none of that here at this con at all.
It's so important. I mean, that's the whole experience. Why would you even go to a convention if you're not going to have the best time, right?
Exactly.
Right. I'm still wishing that there was like another one that I could go to but Tim and I being so far apart, it's like we could only like time that so often, but
Yeah.
I know. So what happened? I heard the whole thing. So it took you a long time, right? You flew in? How did that?
Yeah, I flew in because I live in North Carolina and
Right.
Brian, of course, lives in New York. So
Yeah.
it's tough for us to get together anyway. I ended up having to fly in, and we had some traffic issues getting down
Tim
there.
didn't.
I
did.
listened to the whole thing and I loved it. You're so amazing.
Oh, thank you.
God.
Yeah,
Now
we just
I'm blushing. Back to blushing now.
I know. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, we just try to keep it. We try to keep it casual because this podcast was two friends talking about horror movies, and that's what we've tried to keep it.
It's great.
Throughout,
It's so
so.
great.
Yeah. But speaking of conventions, so Brian and I had this brilliant idea for a sleepaway camp only convention.
Ooh.
So
I don't know if it's happened yet. I hope not. I looked it up. I tried to see if I found
No,
one.
it's never happened.
So if you could have a sleepaway camp convention, like tell us your dream, like events, guests, what would this be like? I'd love to hear this.
Okay, so it would be a whole weekend, and I think it should be in the woods somewhere, and it would actually be like we're going to camp.
Oh my gosh.
I think we should all take our sleeping bags and tents and a whole lot of alcohol.
Yes.
And
Okay, so far
I
I'm
would
in.
love to have all of the actors from all 4 movies, as many as we could get, and they're scattered throughout the camp. And there would be all kinds of games and activities like you're at sleepaway camp.
Oh my God.
Shut up and take my money.
I know, literally. Yeah.
love you.
I would say Tim be nice to our guests, but yeah, I'm thinking the same exact thing. Because I mean, my credit card was already, I was like reaching for it. Like, I'm like, okay, what's the website? As if this was real.
What is this thing?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that
That's
be
great.
fun? I've actually talked to someone about it, and we're thinking about doing it. Not really so much sleepaway camp, but like a camping, get the killers like Michael Myers, Jason, Leatherface, Angela, Chucky, whoever you can get, and you go out for a weekend at camp.
Oh my God, that
Would be awesome.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh my God,
And
yeah,
we take it throughout all the different cities.
that would
Oh
be
my gosh.
crazy.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm in.
so
I'm in.
yeah, we'll talk after the show. We'll start planning this.
Yeah, we
Tim
need
and
to
I are just
plan.
inviting
We need to
ourselves into
plan.
the planning.
We're
in.
planning.
But yeah. And it was funny too, because when you were saying like that, the sleepaway camp experience, like that was one of the things when I watched this again recently that I caught on to, because I was someone that went to sleepaway camp, and I went to day camp first, and I went to sleepaway camp, and and I read somewhere that I guess the writer and director of it,
Yeah.
went to that actually camp. But
He
the
did.
realism of what it like brought me back. I'm like, I remember this, especially this one little silly sequence where you hear in the background in the mess hall there, where they go you're quiet, please. This is dedicated to bunk whatever, and
Yeah.
I'm
Is
like,
that
oh my
real?
God, yeah. We used to, they used to do that. We used to do that at our sleepaway
Oh.
camp, and how
Did you
the
like sleepaway camp?
So I had the luxury of going with like three of my best friends.
Oh.
So I was kind of like, it wasn't but we met friends there too, but it was the vibe was the same. There was like a bunk we hated and a couple of guys we hated that we would always get into fights with, and when we would play in softball, it would get pretty heated. And it was like,
Was there
Oh my gosh.
Was there a creepy chef in the stock room?
I never got to see the chef. I did, but the camp owner did like have that outfit of shorts and like
No.
like a fancier polo shirt. So,
No.
so
What camp was it? Where
it was
was it?
Camp Echo.
In what city?
Now I can't remember. I can't remember the city. It was just upstate New York somewhere. But and I actually did work at a sleepaway camp at one point where that was in Connecticut. I remember I went there, and I still remember I had my own little horror thing. Like I showed up, and like within 3 days they told me that the rocketry counselor quit. So we have no rocketry counselor. And you said on your resume that you'd done rocketry, and I'm like, I did. Like I did not remember putting
my
that. So I got put into the rocketry. I was the rocketry counselor. So I had to learn how to make a model rocket in like 2 days so I could teach all the kids. So that was kind of my own little nightmare at a sleepaway camp.
I think it's scary that it's like kids watching kids.
It really was. I was
Like
so at that point I
16?
was 18 at that point. But yeah, no, you did have those CITs, the counselors in training, around that time, and so
Yeah.
So there were some young people. Like I remember one of the guys. I swear to God, the guy when at my last year of sleepaway camp, I think one of the counselors was like 3 years older than me. And I'm like, I'm listening to you. Why? It's like,
I know. We're like the same age, buddy. Yeah, that's weird. Definitely
Yeah.
strange.
oh, and some of the little torture devices the kids did on each other with the whipped cream and the thing. There was some worse
yeah.
ones, which
Yeah.
we'll save
How
that
about
for
the
our
water
sleepaway
balloons?
camp. Oh, that was like at least like once a week there was a water balloon fight somewhere. Sometimes in the bunk, sometimes it was nuts.
Wow.
But they did something. I guess I could like see what you make it so comfortable to talk to. So I'll tell you the things that they used to do that was horrible.
Yeah.
They did this
Oh,
thing
no.
called a waffle ass. And what that was
is that?
yeah, so they used to hold someone down. I only got it happened to me once. They basically held you down, pulled down your pants, put a tennis racket down, and scrape it with
No.
the roughest hairbrush you could find. So,
That's
horrible.
that's awful.
It really was. It was, and I mean that was like there was that. And the wedgies were pretty bad, stuff like that. There's all the stuff that you
That's
hear about. Was it?
crazy.
So.
Well,
But
I've got
yeah.
some images I can't get out of my mind now.
Yeah,
I
I'm
know,
sorry.
right now,
yeah,
like,
Tim's learning
I
things.
see-
He's like, okay. And Felicia's like, okay, interview's over now.
No, I love
You
it.
know?
Are you kidding me? This is exactly why I feel like Sleepaway Camp does resonate with an audience, because it has very similar tones to what is true to like Sleepaway Camp or, any kind of like kids hanging out and the bully and all of it. It's just true to life, you know?
It really did. It really is. And it was like, and I don't think I knew how much so until this last time I was watching, because I was really trying to watch it, and try and get every nuances while I was prepping for the interview and stuff. And so that was just like, I'm like, oh my God, this is like a flashback, some of this.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I know, because Jonathan Tiersten, who played Ricky, he had gone to sleepaway camp, and he's like, this script is just like what we actually were like at a real camp. I'm like, oh, I only went to day camp. I never went to sleepaway camp.
Yeah, no, I did the day camp thing first too. It was on Long Island. I don't
I'd
was
be
it the same?
afraid. I went to Long Island day camp.
Oh,
I
really?
went to Camp
Fun.
Soreka.
That sounds familiar. I was at Crestwood. I don't know if you knew
I
that.
feel like I've heard of Crestwood. Do you know West Hills?
Oh my God, of course. Yeah, that's like I think that's like was the day camp on Long Island for a while, I think.
That's
I kind of that and
crazy.
Rolling Hills. I think it was West Hills and Rolling Hills were the two big
Yeah,
ones.
you're right. Absolutely. So nuts.
I feel bad for
Oh.
Tim, like we're getting all like Long Island, New York Centric.
I know.
Like,
We're getting
it's
Long Island.
I never
Day
went to
and
day
camp.
camp. I went to
Day
single
camp.
parent. I went to single parent camp with my mom.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's
Aw.
sad. I don't know.
My husband went to sleepaway camp, and he was waiting to find like Jason or Angela.
Oh my God. Well, that was fun. See, I don't know. Maybe you'll remember this and ask him this too later. Our big thing that they tried to scare us with was Cropsy. I don't know if you remember that
Cropsy?
legend. It
Well,
was a
did
real
they
based
try
off
to-
a
yeah.
guy, Freddy Krueger.
Did
Oh,
they try
sorry.
to scare you with Cropsy?
No, they just tried to molest us.
He said they tried to molest them.
Yeah, that was. Thank God we didn't get to that point, but
That's if you pay extra.
yeah. Yeah, they had. Yeah, there was like it was Cropsy, and the legend of Cropsy grew the years I was at the camp till it was almost.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
very similar to Nightmare on Elm Street by the end of it, where he was a burnt guy that came back for revenge.
Yes.
And I'm like, so I said, and then when I finally saw Nightmare on Elm Street, I'm like, wait a minute, this is like kind of Cropsy-ish. What's going
Yeah.
on here?
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know if you could talk about this, Felissa. We hear there is a sleepaway camp reboot in production. Or is mum's the word on that? I don't know.
I mean, this is what I can say. I honestly think we will see a new sleepaway camp. I don't know if it's going to be a prequel, a sequel, a reboot, but I think in the next year, maybe 2 years, we will see another installment.
Awesome.
Exciting. Well, if you're not in
There's
it,
a
I'm
lot
not
going
saying
on right
No, I'm
now.
like-
No, I'm definitely a part of it. I mean, we've been talking about it nonstop, so I'm just waiting to see who, when, where. But yeah, I think so. And the doc, we're prepping for the doc, so
Yes.
I think that's
I
exciting.
can't wait for that.
Yeah,
well,
the
and
doc's
actually,
gonna be fun.
if you do reboot Sleepaway Camp and you need a couple of counselors to kill in it, you need them in there.
I think the
just in
two of you
bump.
are perfect.
I thought so too. I didn't want to sound too confident though, but I kind of
Oh my
thought
gosh,
that.
I love you. So good.
You mentioned the documentary because that was actually we were going to ask you about that next.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Actually, we would like to know what details can you share about the documentary, because this thing sounds really, really awesome.
Well, it's awesome because Mike Perez is our fearless leader. He's an amazing documentarian. He worked on Camp Crystal Lake and The Nightmare on Elm Street. So he's done a lot of docs, and he's getting in touch with all of the actors from all 4 movies. So that's exciting because we'll hear from people we haven't heard from before and their experiences. And he's going really deep with this one. I'd love to just hear stuff from Robert Hiltzik, about why he even, started this. And I know he's kind of touched on it. It's been very topical, but I'd love to hear more about, the homoerotic undertones and certain things that he hasn't really gone into.
Yeah, and these are like he does these long documentaries. Like I remember I think the Crystal Lake one was like 8 hours or something.
Oh,
yeah.
he does. This will be like 4 hours. Yeah.
Oh, it's
definitely.
awesome.
I can't wait. I personally I love horror documentaries, especially because they usually get such a great group of people involved in it, and especially since it's like Sleepaway Camp is a movie that is a favorite of so many people and so many people love it, but there really hasn't been a lot of
I don't think so. I mean, we did the the Blu-ray and
Right.
you know, the waterfront. But we haven't really gone in depth too much.
See, and I hope this documentary just like puts it right. But for those people that haven't, for some reason, I don't know where you've been, but if the people that haven't discovered it and they come across this, like I wanted to like launch like everything, like merchandise. Like I know there's the T-shirts, but like how come there's not like a NECA Angela figure out there, you know? Or like why are there
That's so
not these
great.
things? We need
I
all
don't
of
know.
that.
Terror Threads is doing amazing with all of the merch, but you know, as far as like dolls or anything like that, I don't know. We'll see what happens, you know.
I'm
In
gonna
the
push for it.
future.
I'm gonna keep mentioning it.
I love you. You're
Yeah, and they
so
must be anatomically correct.
Yes, of
We
course.
demand that.
Yes, that is for certain.
Yeah,
Yes.
because you know we need it screen
I
screen
agree.
looking looking right on the screen. So
That's right.
So, Felissa, I was trying to word this question without giving spoilers.
oh yeah,
For
okay,
anybody
so
that
turn
hasn't
this
seen it.
interview off if you've been living under a rock and have not seen Sleepaway.
But I was talking about Angela's character kind of being one of the first female like killers, if you would, and it kind of turns the whole final girl trope on its head a bit. I mean, the movie was like way ahead of its time, like for some of the subject matter that it covered.
I think so. Yeah, it was
So-
very provocative.
Yeah. So what's your? I just kind of want to know your viewpoints on women in horror like these days. Like where's the work? Where do we need to go from here with the way women are portrayed in horror films?
Oh my gosh, I think women are like so powerful in the horror genre. I think if you really think about it, we're ageless. Like there's never you never feel like you get the sense that you can't see a woman who's like 65 in a horror movie. Like we're really amazing in portraying all shape, sizes, ages, and that's incredible because in the mainstream rom-coms or dramas, you have to be like 25 or 30. You know,
Right.
here we are
Right.
today, just to name a few, like Lynn Shay or Dee Wallace or Barbara Crampton,
Oh
Adrienne
my
Barbeau.
gosh.
I mean, we're
All
naming
awesome.
women who could be the leading lady, whereas in a mainstream film, they're definitely biased towards you have to be really young to carry film. So I love that. And I think we can play villain, victim, monster, creature, whatever you see in a film that's horror, women portray it all. So the boundaries are really loose and embrace all people. And that's why I love this community because it is so warm and caring of every individual. It doesn't just select like this is where we have to stay. It's very it's great. I've enjoyed I don't know, my years in horror have been the best. You know, it's sort of like I left for a while and just in the past like I don't know 7 years I've come back and I'm having the time of my life. So I feel very grateful.
That's
And see,
awesome.
you said that 7 years back. I'm like, did she ever leave? I don't think she ever left.
You know, it's like I did sleepaway camp, and then I went to college, and I was really happy to study and also try to become a good actress. And then I got married and had babies, so it was kind of like I just wanted to be home with my kids. But I would definitely say in the last 7 years, I really have worked, kind of consistently. And there's never been the feeling like, oh, well, you're getting old. I feel like it's better now than it was in my, 20s. So, and that's because of this genre.
Well, now
That's
that you're
awesome.
back, please don't go anywhere because you're.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Brian, I'm going to let you ask the last question.
Oh, you're giving me
And I'm giving you the best one.
Okay.
We saved the best for last.
Yeah, well, I've already talked about my butt being scraped by a brush. So what's worse
We
right
can
now?
say it all, baby.
Yeah. What's? I have no embarrassment now. No. Okay. So basically, with all the various jobs that you had in the film industry, you have what I like to put the MDE distinction, mangle dick expert title.
Oh,
So
my
now.
favorite.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. So it's like, how does one gain that degree, and what if there's like, are there going to be any future courses you're going to teach for those who may want to be that as well?
I should, right? I'm very, very thankful to Joe Bob Briggs for having me on the last drive-in, the marathon. That was an incredible experience, but even more so, as soon as he labeled me the Mangle Dick expert, it has been just a magical experience being a part of that Shutter family and part of Joe Bob Briggs and Darcy's, life and world. And every Friday night, the slumber parties begin where we get our pizza and our snacks and we get to sit with Joe Bob Briggs and watch his favorites that have been our favorites, but we're rewatching or renewing our love for those movies. And it's just, I don't know, I feel like I'm on a magic carpet ride. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, I cannot believe I'm involved with you and your, your wonderful new series now.
I know. I was so bummed because of the Passover Seder that I could not watch The Last Drive.
Right. We had
I was
Seder,
so bummed.
I know. But now the great thing about Shutter is you can watch it today.
Right.
That's right.
But you know what? That was one of the best parts, though, is the interaction. The tweeting, and I always try and tweet through the whole thing. And
oh, that's so sweet. But you know what? You can that's the beauty of Shutter. You can relive it. You can go back to the tweets. I mean, I find everybody on Twitter is constantly, going through the shows and talking about them constantly, which is beautiful. And obviously the love for Joe Bob Briggs is enormous. I mean, I tell him all the time, he's the best. He's just an incredible scholar of all these horror movies.
Yeah, it was a real treat to meet him at New Jersey Horror Con because I'm such a huge fan. Yeah, he was completely. I was expecting, like I told Brian, I was like, I expected to just walk up, say, "Hi, Joe Bob, I'm a big fan. Thanks, good day," and I'd have been on cloud nine. But to get to talk to him and have conversations about films, I was just blown away. It was awesome.
Yeah, that's the way he is. He's super cool and down to earth and just knowledgeable beyond belief.
I mean, we didn't get a good of a hug from him.
No, we did not.
Say, but did you get that hug?
No.
Kind of. We got like an arm around in the photo. That was about the best.
But maybe from Darcy.
No, we didn't get that. We did ride the elevator down with her though. That was a true story. We did walk into the elevator. It was kind of funny because
she's so sweet.
She is, and she's really seems shy in person, which I was surprised because she seems so outgoing, like on Twitter and stuff. But she's shy. So sweet.
She is very sweet. Yeah. Very humble and adorable.
Yeah, no, it was fun, but yeah. So yeah, but it was just again, I know we keep talking about it, but I can't keep going back to that New Jersey Horror Con.
Oh, I feel the same way.
It was just so fun, and I mean, it led to this, and you got to meet you, and now
we're friends forever.
Yeah, so. I mean, we're gonna get slaughtered at a camp now. This is great.
We're gonna go. Yes, exactly. We are. Wait till you see.
No, I can't wait. I want a good death, though. I want a really good one. Maybe I gave you it. Maybe I just get deaths
at the camp.
Maybe I get brushed to death by with the.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Brian, you could get your butt waxed by a tennis racket.
Yeah, that could be my.
I might have to include that.
Yeah, that is yours. I'm giving it to you.
You get waxed.
Anyone listening.
I'm going to call you and find out all the little more facts about the real sleepaway camp.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I got a whole list. Anytime.
Well, Felissa, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I love you guys so much.
Oh,
the most beautiful thing meeting you. Thank you.
Yeah, this just made our week, our year, because we just love you and we think you're like just. It's like you really don't understand, like if you have not met her yet, how great she is and how fun it is. Like I do feel like we've known you now forever.
I feel that way too. You better stay. I'm going to stalk you on Twitter.
Oh yeah. Are you kidding?
I'm serious.
I was a little giddy just when I was like, look, she liked our tweet. Tim.
I love you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my God. Thank you.
Anytime,
You're the best.
Thank you so much. So yeah, Brian, that was it. I mean, that was just a dream come true to be able to have her on the show.
Yeah, it really was because, it's like you try and get, when we started this podcast, we never thought we'd get, I mean, we've had some great interviews too, and obviously not taking away from any of the interviews we've had, but when you get someone that's been in the horror industry for so long, and has just been, and it was as exciting as, because when we got to meet her, she was so awesome. And so we knew instantly that we wanted to continue the conversation with her that we just didn't get to at the con. So we were hoping that she would come on, and she did. And she's just as awesome. And I'm glad now people could see the ones, we kept saying it at the horror con, how great she was. But now you just get a little taste of that on the interview of how just amazing she is. So now you're going to have to swarm her booth, at the next one. And she's got a lot of good upcoming, appearances that I always try and share, or on our social media. So I think she got one in Gettysburg coming up the weekend. You'll be at the Hollywood Nights, I guess. She'll be she's in the Gettysburg con there. So I think she's with the actress that plays Meg from Sleepaway Camp 2. So it's a kind of a little Sleepaway Camp
cool.
mini reunion. Yeah,
nice. All right, guys. Well, let's get to our main feature this week. We are doing arguably one of the, if not the most well-known horror movies of all time. This is almost always on up there as number one in any kind of top 10 or top 100 horror movies. Usually,
it's always in the top 5.
Yeah, and sometimes it flips between this and The Shining for number one spot. But this is, of course, The Exorcist from 1972, directed by William Friedkin, based on the novel by William Peter Blatty, which is also fantastic, starring Ellen Burstyn as Chris McNeil, Max von Sydow as Father Merrin, and I did look up how to pronounce his name, because I've never really known exactly how to pronounce his name. It's Max von Sydow.
Really? Because I always called him Max von Sydow.
Yeah, I was always called him Max von Sydow, but I said, I better check how you pronounce his name, Max von Sydow. Lee J. Cobb as Lieutenant William Kinderman, who's fantastic in this.
Yes, we were just talking about him before we were recording, how much we loved his character.
Kitty Wynn as Sharon, Jack McGowan as Burke Dennings, who's also great, Jason Miller as Father Karras, and Linda Blair as Regan. When a teenage girl is possessed by a mysterious entity, her mother seeks the help of 2 priests to save her daughter. If you have not seen this movie, what are you doing?
Yeah,
Stop the
you
podcast.
Cannot be listeing to this podcast if you have not seen this movie. I mean, I literally saw this as a child, and it traumatized me.
Yeah.
So, so you had to have seen this. If you were a horror fan, that's probably one of, I just off the cuff here, I know we've said this before, and people usually ask me, whenever they find out I have a horror podcast, I'm sure, Tim, you get the same. They're like, "Oh, really? Well, what's your favorite movies?"
Yeah.
And, what do I watch? And I'm like, well, it's obviously, I'll usually try and go with something, a little more current. But I will say, of course, you need the staples like, Shining, Jaws, Exorcist. They're always Carrie. Those are always the ones that just kind of, that I'm like, you had to have seen. You have to see these if you're a horror fan. You just have to.
Like when people ask me, what's your favorite movie? I usually, The Exorcist is always in the top 5. I don't usually say it's my favorite, because I don't think it is my favorite.
Yeah, no, it's the same here. It's in my top 5. It's just not.
But it's one of those that I respect the hell out of. No pun intended. And it's got a permanent spot in my top 5 just because it's The Exorcist, and there doesn't need to be any other reason. And I don't know how many times I've seen this movie. I can't remember the first time I saw it. It was probably, like you, Brian, probably when I was fairly young. I do know that it was not until DVD, when I was really purchasing my own movies, that I really explored this film multiple times and in kind of any kind of in-depth viewing of the film. I mean, I had seen it before, obviously, but the DVD era was when I listened to commentaries and I watched scenes over and over, that kind of thing, where I really deep dived into it. So that was probably in the late 90s when DVD was coming out. And I own this right now. I'm looking at 3 different copies of this on my shelf.
Yeah, I know I have 2 Blu-ray copies. I think I had 2 DVD copies. So yeah, I same here, because anytime that comes out with a new version, I would get it. And also another thing is, once DVD came out, remember, you could always now then start freeze framing it on the demon flashes. Yeah.
Which, as our trivia points out, were a discarded makeup test for the possessed Linda Blair. So kind of interesting.
Right, which I don't think I ever knew until I read it on our trivia there.
Yeah. So The Exorcist, of course, is a movie about demonic possession. And I was thinking about the movie today when I was rewatching it, how if you did not see this movie early on, I'm just thinking of, like my kids growing up now. There's so many demon possession movies out there. And they all owe most of their depictions of possession to The Exorcist. You can't get away from it. I was watching one recently called The Devil Inside. I don't know if you've ever seen that one, Brian. That was kind of a found footage-y type, mockumentary.
Yeah, that wasn't bad.
I actually enjoyed that one. I had never watched it because it got such terrible reviews, but I actually really liked it. And I'm sitting here watching it and thinking, like all this stuff was done before in The Exorcist in terms of the depictions of demonic possession. So if you watch this movie after having seen all these countless, The Exorcism of Emily Rose and The Last Exorcism and The Last Exorcism 2, it may look quaint by comparison. I don't know. I can't see it from that perspective because I saw The Exorcist early on, but I can see it. And I've heard people say that they don't think The Exorcist is all that great, but I think it's because you've seen it before. But if you can imagine seeing this in 1972, God, I would be freaking freaked out. Like this would, you hadn't seen stuff like this on the screen before. You hadn't seen depictions of possession like this ever in film.
No, and there's legendary stories of people, like being like traumatized in theaters and leaving and stuff. And I just remember, of course, there's so many, iconic sequences in it that people remember. But I remember the first thing that stuck with me was one of the more famous ones, of course, but when the head spun around.
Yeah.
And when that first happened and I first saw that, I remember I was just like, I think I literally was like frozen there just staring at the screen. Less like, what the, oh my God. I'm like, because that's creepy. I had never seen anything like that before. And, and just some of the, there's a lot of graphic stuff in that movie that you're surprised that you're actually watching on screen, and it's so the people, it's funny though. You're right. It's like one of those things, the same thing with like the people that may have seen the Blair Witch well after they've seen the other found footage movies that are out there.
Right. Yeah.
You can't appreciate you can't appreciate movies, older movies when you've seen them too late, and some hold up as still great movies, but I don't think you still get the same feeling that you'd get if you'd see it when it originally came out before you saw the other ones, because it's regardless if you can put it aside or compartmentalize it, it's still in the back of your head that you're gonna say, oh well, look, I just saw this one and this one did it better because of an effect or something. But it's hard. I mean, same thing I say that with Jaws. Like if you've seen other shark movies, there's been a million of them now. But and then you go back and watch Jaws, you'll be like, oh, you hardly see the shark in it. It's like, but I'm like, but then you're like, well, you had to see it back then. Of course, you're gonna see now all these CG sharks and stuff, and it's not the same, But I don't know. Well, we've gone over that many a time, but it especially with this movie, it warrants it again. To go over that fact.
Yeah, I don't think this one lends itself well to a plot-by-plot recap because everybody's already seen it.
Yeah, and it really is also, it's one of those movies where it's a very slow, methodical burn to the eventual exorcism sequences. And now when I say slow burn, I don't mean that it's boring in any way because each scene is captivating leading up to it.
Yeah, actually, rewatching it today, I was kind of taken aback at how non-slow it was because in my mind I was kind of remembering it as more of a slow burn, but it actually picks up pretty quickly in terms of events start happening pretty quickly.
Oh, I meant that. Because people, I meant more so than just the exorcism sequence.
Yeah.
Like that's what I let. Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. There's other stuff obviously that leads up to, like she's being possessed early, and there's a lot of stuff going on, and but I meant because obviously everyone that I was kind of piggybacking off what we were saying, you're leading up to that now, anyone that's going to go in to watch this thing, of course, remembers mostly the exorcism sequence, and that's what they're waiting for, so it's leading up to that, if you think about it,
there's a lot of build up to that. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're going to miss some of the most the best parts of the movie too. I mean, if you're just your mind sets on that, because really, what is it? Only like literally that last half hour of the film.
Yeah,
and it's over 2 hour running time. So if you're thinking you're just thinking the last thing, you're missing some of the great setup for this movie.
Yeah, and the movie itself is really about Father Karras and his battle with his faith. So
it's his story,
so you really don't want to miss all that in the just to get to Linda Blair's head spinning around. There's so many good plot lines going on here. You got Chris McNeil, who's played by Ellen Burstyn, and I was telling Brian, she does, even before we started recording, she's such an unlikable character in a way. She plays an actress. She's very very high strung, Like she will go off on people for no reason. I mean, she berates that poor telephone operator for like.
Oh yeah, because her ex-husband doesn't.
Her ex-husband
call on Reagan's birthday, and she's flipping out.
I mean, this woman is
like it's the operator's fault.
This is the woman that wants to talk to your manager. That's her in a nutshell.
Yeah. She's the one that says, "Well, the customer's always right."
So she's very high strung. She plays. It's very difficult to pull off because she had to play this character that's really not likable, but you also have to sympathize with her. Because she's the mother of this poor child that's going through this horrible thing. So you can't make her into a villain. How do you make this unlikable character sympathetic? And she pulls it off. Because I had never.
Well, she's great. I mean, it's just a start.
It's incredible that she makes you feel sympathetic towards her, even though she's kind of a not very nice woman. Now, granted, a lot of her attitude is because she loves her daughter so much, and she doesn't want to see her going through this. And you can kind of feel some of those outbursts are really just pain from what her daughter's going through. So in that respect, I can understand it. But just a fantastic job by Ellen Burstyn.
Yeah, and right, and she knows, she's an actress, she's busy, she has a live-in assistant, essentially, and so she's, she knows there's probably some guilt there, she doesn't spend time enough with her daughter, that she wants to really spend time with her, but, her career takes her away, and, so it's like, you always see her making an attempt to be with her as much as possible. So it's like, she, when she finds out that this is going on with her, she's devastated. So yeah, I mean, some of her actions are justified. I mean, maybe not towards the operator.
Yeah, poor operator.
Just in general, yeah.
Max von Sydow as Father Merrin. I will go on record. This is the best old age makeup ever.
Oh my god!
In cinematic history, the best old age makeup ever. Because I swear to you, for years, I thought he was old in this movie. He was like 43. He was like 43 when he filmed this. He was my age when he filmed this.
He looks the same as he did as Lawrence Santeca in Force Awakens. Like, literally that same age. Like, and that's like him at like 80-something.
If you look at his old age makeup and then look at him as in real life old age, they look identical. It's incredible. And I don't understand it because like I've seen modern old age makeup that looks like crap. I mean, looks like total, just terrible. And
like the Johnny Knoxville, like old guy. Like,
like they look like so fake. Like on This Is Us, when they age the characters, it looks just terrible. Even though that's a TV show. But anyway, I thought this was an old man playing this role. Like I had no clue.
Yeah, and in fact, one of the times I said, like, oh my god, how old is he now? Because look how old he was in this movie. Yeah. And then he played Ming. They made him look younger in Flash Gordon, but then he looked older again, like later on. And I'm like, is this guy just like one of those guys that like looked old early on, or it just never aged from that just one point?
Incredible makeup job. Yeah. Like I said. Best old age makeup ever in cinematic history. I'm convinced.
I have to agree.
So the makeup was done by, of course, Dick Smith, who is one of the legends of makeup effects. It's just incredible. And Max von Sydow is such a fantastic actor that he sold it through his performance that he was this old.
I mean, with his shaky hands and his, whatever he's got, I guess he's got a heart condition.
Yeah. Oh, it was just fantastic. He's one of my favorite actors anyway. He's just so awesome.
Yeah, same here. Especially now that he's in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
So I like him more. But I mean, I loved him when he was in in Flash Gordon as Ming, of course. So
yeah. Lee J. Cobb was, again, we talked about earlier, William Kinderman. He's the police. I don't know what his exact title is, but he's the investigator. And I just loved his character. He's no nonsense. He gets things done, but he has a certain charm about him. And he's very good at the small talk stuff to get his way.
Yeah.
Just loved his character. Kitty Wynn as Sharon. Yeah, she's the browbeat assistant. God, she got laid into a couple times too for no reason.
Well, yeah, I mean, she leaves, at one point leaves Reagan up there with the Burke.
Yeah.
Which,
Burke Dennings was fantastic. Jack McGowan plays him. He played a perfect, I don't know what you call him, a drunken, celebrity friend. I don't know what you call him, but he was fantastic. And then Jason Miller, of course, as Father Karras. He was superb. What else was he in?
Jason Miller?
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I remember him a lot, and he was the coach in Rudy. He played Ara Parseghian. But, I mean, of course, he returned in Exorcist 3.
Right, yeah.
He's been in a bunch of stuff. But I remember always him from, like, Rudy.
Toy Soldiers, 1984. I was just kind of looking at some of these. Yeah, so he hasn't been in a lot of stuff, but he acted throughout. He had some early 80s, had a few things throughout the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, I mean, nothing big, but it's funny. He did play another priest in some other movie, but he played F. Scott Fitzgerald in a TV movie.
Ah.
But yeah, like I remember him mostly from Rudy after The Exorcist.
And then, of course, Linda Blair as Reagan, and I can't imagine my daughter doing this role. Some of the stuff she had to do, oh my gosh, it was insane. In fact, one of our trivia was that Max von Sydow got so disturbed by her delivery of some of her lines, because she had to say some foul-mouthed language in here, that he actually forgot his lines while she was saying hers. So, yeah, that was a very brutal role for a child to take on.
Yeah, no, Linda Blair, I mean, at her, to do that kind of a role, and I mean, I think she said she was kind of like, there was a scene where, I guess it's in our trivia too, she was traumatized because of the cold. She's still cold to this day because of all the stuff they had to go through to get that scene accurate and keep the room like with frigid air conditionings on there.
Yeah, so some fantastic performances, and William Friedkin, especially if you listen to the commentary, and we see it in some of our trivia. He was particularly, I'm trying to think of the proper word. He's a little cruel to his actors. He would do things to get reactions out of them. For instance, there was the scene where she gets knocked backwards, where Chris gets knocked backwards and the dresser gets kind of thrown towards her. She was actually on a harness. They go through this in depth on the DVD features, but she was in this harness that was supposed to yank her back. And of course, she was telling William Friedkin, "Don't yank me too hard. I don't want to get hurt, blah, 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 blah." And William Friedkin basically told the stunt guys or whatever that were doing the yanking of the harness, they said, just pull the hell out of her. And they did, and she got flown backwards. And that reaction you see on screen is realistic because she really got yanked. Not what she was expecting at all for him to get that reaction. And there was another scene where he fired a gun, I believe.
Yeah, a gun in Jason Miller's ear.
Right in Jason Miller's ear to get a reaction. I mean, so he was kind of a,
I guess a method director, right?
A method director, I guess is what you would call it. Yeah, he seems kind of like a jerk in terms of trying to get reactions out of his actors instead of just letting them use their talent to act. So he's always kind of struck me as kind of a weird director guy. I have to say I lost some credibility with William Friedkin when I watched that Father, I can't remember the name of it, that recent Exorcist film he did that was supposed to be like the real life exorcism and stuff, and it was just to me it was just so sensationalized and stuff. I was like, I don't know, I lost some respect for him after that movie. But anyway, so yeah, he seems kind of like a, like you said, kind of a method director, and not many actors agreed with his methods, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, it's amazing he got some people to still work with him after these stories, but maybe it didn't come out as much as because there was no social media back then. There were no DVDs or with commentaries and documentaries back then. So,
speaking of Father Karras, I have to laugh. And Ken will get this joke. I was watching it again today, and I was just laughing. So his mom, she's calls him Demi.
Yeah.
Demi,
why you do this?
Why
Demi?
you do this, Demi?
I know that. I feel bad because I kind of laugh a little bit at the beginning when she starts doing that. She's like, "Demi, why you do this?"
Well, Ken used to always laugh because it sounded like she's saying Timmy, and so he would go.
It does actually.
So
it does.
So to this day, he'll go, Demi. Demi, why you do this to me, Demi?
Oh my God!
Yeah, so
sorry, Ken. I'm gonna apologize, but I'm going to steal that now.
That's like an inside joke that's been going on for literally like decades now. So
that's hilarious. Yeah, and it does it kind of now that he said that. Now I'm gonna hear it only as Timmy.
Yeah, I know.
Time.
So
I know what it is.
The minute she said it, it started cracking me up. So if you guys ever want to like make me crack up, just say, Demi, why you do this to me, Demi? Oh, it was funny.
But yeah, no, they that she was like the perfect Italian like grandmother too, or mother in this case. That lady that played him, or her, like to torture him. So, and her name was I guess Vasiliki Malieros.
Oh, okay. So she probably was an authentic Italian grandmother.
Yeah, well, actually, she was from Greece, but
or not.
She yeah. So and this is crazy. She literally died she was born in 1883.
Holy crap.
So she died she died in 1973. So right after.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, there's been a lot of weird things around this movie. Like, sort of like in Poltergeist, there's like the supposed Poltergeist curse. And there's a lot of rumors about this movie as well. There's one that is super creepy. Super, super creepy. And I did not know this until I had read it before, maybe in the IMDb trivia, but I'd read other stuff about it. But there is a man who was convicted of murder that is in The Exorcist.
Oh yeah, the anesthesiologist.
Yeah, so
right?
It's the radiologist. So when you watch the scene where they first wheel Reagan in for the spinal tap thing they're doing or whatever, and he's got a beard, and he like tells her to lay back and stuff. He's like one of the main technicians you see in that scene.
Oh yeah, you can't miss him.
Yeah, you can't miss him. He even has a line. He was convicted of murder a few years after this movie, and was sent to prison. And there was a rumor. Now, this has not been verified, but there was some talk that he may even have been a serial killer in what was known as the bag murders that were carried out from 1977 to 78. In which 6 male victims were mutilated and dismembered and dumped in the Hudson River. So, and these murders were actually the inspiration for another one of William Friedkin's movies, Cruising, starring Al Pacino, another famous film. But yeah, he was convicted of murdering film critic Addison Verrill and became a suspect in those serial killer murders. And I think I was reading a little bit into it, and I think he was trying to lay credit to those to get some kind of deal or something. So I think you have to take his story with a little bit of a grain of salt. So I don't know that that was ever really explored, but it makes a good story. But I mean, fact is, he really was convicted of murder. So he at least killed one guy.
He killed one person. It was a serial killer aspect.
Yeah.
They weren't sure of it.
So
he actually did.
That's super creepy to me. Very creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I also noticed was of course, this introduced the Ouija board to a wider audience, because that's how Linda Blair gets possessed in the movie. She gets possessed by this demon who she thinks is named Captain Howdy, and
which is kind of creepy in itself. That just sounds like a creepy. It sounds like it reminds you of Captain Spaulding.
Yeah, but I'm sure this movie probably started the whole. I mean, of course, Ouija boards been around for hundreds of years. Probably, I don't know how long they've been around, but popular at least since the late 1800s, and. But I think this movie probably did to Ouija boards what Jaws did for water and Psycho did for shower scenes. Like, everybody thought now Ouija boards will
cheese sandwiches.
Yeah. Now Ouija boards will possess you if you play with them. And I've got some good Ouija board stories. Ken knows what I'm talking about. We used to play around with it back in the day. So, yeah, I'm very skeptical that anything from Parker Brothers can summon a demon.
That's been see, this is why we were destined, Tim, to host a podcast together, because I always said the same thing. I'm like, if anyone says, oh, the Ouija, I'm like, just look on the outside of the box. It says Parker Brothers. You know, it's the same thing. It's if they also make Connect 4. You know, like, so what?
No, I actually bought one for my daughter recently. She wanted one. She'd seen it on YouTube or whatever. I was like, fine, whatever. I don't care. I don't believe my daughter's become possessed by the devil because she has a Parker Brothers Ouija board. We've got it out and we've played with it. We haven't become possessed by the devil. I don't believe in that kind of thing. So she's perfectly safe, and we have our Ouija board downstairs in the playroom. So,
oh, and by the way, I have to apologize. I'm sorry that because I know someone will out there, most likely Cone will correct me on this one. Connect 4 is technically Milton Bradley and Hasbro, but you get my point.
Yeah. So anyway, again, I can't help but think this movie probably had put a reputation, a tarnished reputation on the good old Parker Brothers Ouija board.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but anyway, fantastic movie. Still holds up. I think it still holds up. I was watching it today with a critical eye, trying to spot, where has this movie really aged? Where has it lost some of its impact? And again, the demon possession, we've seen demon possession very similar to this in a lot of movies and shows. Recent example, the EXORCIST TV show that came out. But some of those scenes are still creepy. Like one particular scene that really struck me today was when he was kind of like trying to hold her down, and she's just like, bleh. She's like vomiting the pea soup out of her mouth, and he's like holding her down. That still looks really, really scary to me.
You know which one creeped me out, and for some reason I don't ever remember it creeped me out to begin with, but I think it's like after one of the sequences where I don't know if it's right when he discovers Max von Sydow on the ground, but no, what is it? How did you say it? Sydow. And she's just kind of like lounging, kind of like haphazardly in the corner of the bed, just kind of watching when he walks in, and she's just like sitting there, just like with this stare on her face, like what next, kind of a thing. And I'm just like, I said, oh, that's creepy. I said, I don't think I ever remember that particular shot. That view of her sitting there, and I mean, obviously, of course, there's if you watch a director's cut, there's the infamous spider walk sequence, which is creepy. And actually, I think one of the most creepy scenes is actually not even seen, but described when they describe Burke's death, that his head was twisted completely around. And then when the cop goes and he starts to describe it, he goes, well, you see, that's like a 1 in a million shot. His head's going to be turned completely around like that from the fall. And then you're just thinking, imagine of just, so you've just put this in your head that she somehow twisted his head around and snapped his neck.
Yeah.
And then propelled him out the window. So now you have one of the creepier scenes is now imagined by you more than you've actually seen it.
Yeah. And the, that voice that Reagan does was done by a lady named Mercedes McCambridge. And one of our trivia things here was she would swallow raw eggs and chain smoke and drink whiskey to distort her voice. And she was another method actress. She would even...
Oh, my talker. Yeah, method voice actor.
Yeah, she would... she bound herself to a chair with pieces of torn sheet to get a more realistic sound of a demon struggling against its restraints. And
she may have had issues.
Yeah, but I mean, what a fantastic job she did doing this demon voice, because that still holds up. It's super creepy.
You'd have to say the lip syncing was really well done too.
Yeah,
where she was. I mean, there was a couple of points you could see that you could tell it wasn't her voice, but a lot of the times it was like matched perfectly. Yeah, so you thought it was her saying it. And then another scene that was creeped me out, like the thing when she first goes downstairs, something's up, and she pees on the floor, but she just looks at that guy and goes, "You're gonna die."
Yeah.
Like, tell me that's not creepy. If someone even joked and told me that, I'd be sitting there freaking out all day and just like sitting there, you know.
That's another trope, I guess, if you will, that this movie probably popularized. Now I know there was scary kid movies well before The Exorcist. You had like The Bad Seed, and you had Village of the Damned, and movies like that, where you juxtapose like this innocent, what you would think is the most innocent, which is a young girl or young boy, with some unspeakable evil. But this movie had to have popularized that. I mean, if you look at most exorcism movies, it's usually a young girl that's being possessed, or a young kid or something. So I think that was another trope that it kind of popularized, is the idea of this juxtaposing this very innocent person next to this super, super evil thing. Because they really go out of their way to make Reagan very likable early in the movie, so that you get this sense that she's just this really good kid and everything, so that when she is possessed, that contrast is so obvious.
And so by the way, just a correction to earlier. So Vasiliki Malario, she actually died before the film was released. So after her filming.
Oh.
And then she died. And also Burke, Jack McGowan, he died before the film was released also.
Oh, wow.
So part of that whole thing, yeah.
That's part of the old curse, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think it's 9 people died, right? I think.
Wow.
It's something, yeah, it was some crazy amount of number that, and they said, and actually, speaking of that, they said due to death threats, Linda Blair actually got death threats from religious zealots because they thought the film glorified Satan. So they actually, like, blamed her and went after her, of all things.
Yeah. I can't believe this film glorifies Satan in any way.
I don't think it did.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Is that what you took from it? You know, it's like...
Yeah. Somebody vomiting pea soup. Big thanks to Ken for my autographed copy of Anderson's Split Pea Soup, which I have sitting up on my shelf right now.
Right.
So, yeah. But
and that's a famous place, Anderson's, and they were known anyway. But and the Campbells lost out because they didn't like their soup.
Speaking of the pea soup, again, another real reaction on screen is when Jason Miller gets hit in the face with the pea soup. That was actually supposed to hit him in the chest, and it hit him in the face, which is not.
He had a rough filming.
He had a rough filming. Yeah.
No wonder why he's only done like 5 movies after that.
Interesting that The Exorcist is number 1 for a reason. It was the first horror film to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Picture. The very first. So that was, and as us horror fans know, that's a very rare thing.
Yeah.
We had one recently with Get Out in 2017 and Jaws.
Hopefully maybe us. We'll see.
We'll see. Jaws, of course, and then Silence of the Lambs and The Sixth Sense. Silence of the Lambs actually won, but some people don't consider that horror. I don't personally consider Silence of the Lambs a horror film. I consider it a thriller. Serial killers, to me, that's... I don't know. I don't know where you draw that line, but serial killer films typically, to me... It's hard to say because Psycho is obviously a horror film.
Yeah. Well, I've always had trouble with Silence of the Lambs. Like, it's, you know what? It depends on the day you catch me, because sometimes I feel like I can justify it as a horror film, but I definitely think it's more that suspense. But, you are dealing with a maniac in it, and it's, Hannibal Lecter himself. But then there's also oh my God, Buffalo Bill,
yeah.
Right? Yeah, I mean, his character, there's definitely horrific elements to it. So is it completely horror? Probably not. But is it horror adjacent or part? I mean, it's difficult. It really is. It depends on for me, it depends on the day, because there's some days I'm convinced it is. Some days I'm like, really not.
Well, see, the way I draw the line, to me, just in my mind, is the killing the focus of the movie. And to me, Jaws, yes, the shark is attacking people. That to me, it's the focus of the movie. But Silence of the Lambs, the actual killings are not the focus of the movie. Buffalo Bill kills somebody early on, and then the rest of the movie, he's got a girl in a pit. And Hannibal Lecter, he kills some people, but that's not the focus of the movie. The focus of the movie is tracking down this killer. That's the real premise of the movie. So to me, that's why I don't really classify it as horror. I classify it more as a thriller suspense.
Yeah. You know what it is? It's more the background of the film is more horror. You know, like then again, when Hannibal Lecter does, when he gets his escape, those scenes are pretty gory and horror. But now, just because something's gory doesn't mean it's horror. I mean, look at 127 Hours. I mean, that's got one of the goriest scenes I've ever seen on film, and that's not a horror movie. So you can't just say gore.
Yeah, if the movie was Hannibal Lecter going around killing people and they were trying to catch him, to me would be more horror than what Silence of the Lambs ultimately was, which was an FBI director trying to pick the brains of a serial killer to find another serial killer. I don't know. It just had too many police elements to it or something. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely more like a definitely horror adjacent.
Yeah.
I don't know. Remember that movie, Sigourney Weaver's and Copycat? Do you remember that one?
Yeah, that was a good
See,
movie.
that one was more horror,
Yeah.
I think, because it was like, there was some elements of like a thriller in it, but there's a lot of horror in it too, because it was it's that whole like, tracking down a killer thing, but
I still want to do Silence of the Lambs one day.
Yeah,
that's
we should do a Hannibal Lecter like slaycation.
Yeah, because
really.
It really is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I've said that a lot recently. But Silence of the Lambs, I don't. Again, like I said, I don't count it as horror, so I don't count it in my top 5 horror. But just in terms of movies of all time, probably in my top 5 favorite movies.
Right.
How we got that on that subject out of Exorcist?
Because of the Academy Award.
Yeah, the Academy Award. So yeah, I mean, just phenomenal movie if you haven't seen it before. I wish I was around. Unfortunately, I can't claim credit that I saw this in the womb or anything, like I can for some other films around the time. I think, I'm trying to think, my mom told me one that she was actually pregnant when I saw it. I can't remember which one it was. Maybe it was Texas Chainsaw. I don't know. I can't remember. But I can't claim credit for this one. This was before my time, but I would love to have seen the reaction to this movie when it came out, because I can imagine it was pretty crazy.
I mean, of course, obviously, it was the year I was born. It came out, so I did not see it. But I still saw it pretty early on, though. I remember seeing it when I was a kid. So, I mean, I guess I got as close as I could to it. But yeah, so I mean, obviously, I did not see it at a year old. I saw it when I was like 8 or 9 or something like that. But real quick too, we should mention that I still love the shot. Obviously the famous shot of when Father Merrin comes out of the cab. And it's used with the poster and all that stuff. But even now, when I watched it this recent time, I just look at it and it was just such a cool sequence. I just love looking at that shot. Like, if I ever got like a screen print of a sequence in a movie, I think that would be one of them I'd love to have as like a full, like, not just a poster of it, of the movie type thing, but like the actual like clip from the movie blown up into like a picture.
Yeah, it's so iconic. And then when you add the tubular bells up against it, I mean, it's just so iconic.
That would be a good shadow box to make if they ever made a Father Merrin figure.
That's something that would be something to hand make. I think you could make a really cool one. Yeah. All right, guys. So I can't do this movie justice in half an hour in terms of talking about it. It's just a classic of all time. It's one of my favorites. And if you haven't seen it, you got to go see it. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah.
I think maybe we can even feature it in a Slaycation, just the rest of them at some point.
I would like to do that, yeah.
I mean, 2 was not good, but 3 I actually really liked.
3 is very good. And I actually enjoyed the prequel to some extent, Dominion. So, this would be good to cover, I think, at some point. Now, Exorcist 2, I have not seen in so long, and I don't remember anything about it, which is probably a good thing.
I saw it once, basically, I think, and that was it.
So
it's like widely known not to be great.
But Exorcist 3 is kind of a cult classic these days. I mean, people really like that one.
And that still has probably one of my frightening jump scares in it. Yeah. And one of the ones that a lot of people will agree is one of the creepiest jump scares. So. Yeah.
All right, Brian, so what did you do for our beer pairing this week?
So this one, I did a couple of things. I actually had another one in mind, but then I found this one, which I thought was even better. And the other one was kind of one of those once-in-a-while beers that like may never come back again, so I didn't think I'd do justice. So I wanted to do one that could actually be obtained. And that is out of a brewery called Illuminated Brew Works in Chicago, Illinois, and it's called Pazuzu's Petals, which, of course, Pazuzu was the demon in The Exorcist. The ABV is 6.30%, and it's a farmhouse porter. So that's unique. You know, I heard a lot had a farmhouse ales, but I don't think I've ever had a farmhouse porter before. So, and I'll read you the description. It's kind of funny. It says, farmhouse porter be taken by the sinful pleasures of bitter chocolate, coffee, dark fruit, smoke, and herb in this homage to everyone's favorite Babylonian demon and his love affair with the bicycle.
I don't know where that came from, but that's funny.
I don't either, but they got pedals in there. So, yeah. So definitely going to check that out. And that's now this is officially on my brewery bucket list there to get Julie and I are probably going to hit a Chicago trip in the next couple of years. I've been there, but Julie's never been there. So we're going to try and go there. And we'll definitely make this a stop. So maybe we can get some Pazuzu's pedals.
Nice. All right. So our triple threat, the Diabolical Brian, came up with a super hard one last week. And we got a correct answer from Cody. So well done, Cody.
Yes, she got it.
She really worked hard on that one.
Yeah, she worked at it. She made a couple of guesses and did what you kind of have to do with these. Sometimes you have to throw out a guess there, and then process of elimination. Because a lot of times things will fit one or two of the clues, but not the third one. And then, but once you get like one or two, you can kind of work from there. So she did a great job getting that.
So we were looking for a fictional character, and the answer was Jimmy Quinn from Q the Winged Serpent, played by Michael Moriarty. Clue number 1, diamonds may be a girl's best friend, but they aren't mine. Well, Jimmy Quinn's fate was altered during a failed diamond heist. I almost made $1 million along with possessing a literal nest egg. Of course, Jimmy Quinn found a giant creature egg at the top of the Chrysler building and used his knowledge of his existence in an attempt to extort $1 million from the city of New York.
Yeah, I think that was the giveaway one, if you really looked.
And then clue number 3 was, I have an affection for jazz music, as well as the actor who plays me. Jimmy Quinn wanted to go legit and become a jazz pianist, and actor Michael Moriarty, who played him, was an actual jazz musician. So that's how we came up with that triple threat.
Yes, and I have to tell you, that was just happened to be, that was a good timing, I guess, with the last drive-in that showed the stuff.
Yeah.
Starring Michael Moriarty.
Which was fantastic, by the way.
In that.
He is so good
at that. Oh,
my
God.
Yeah.
He's awesome.
All right, so this week we're looking for an actor or actress. Clue number 1. I have 2 daughters and have acted together with one of them in one of my most famous roles. Clue number 2. I was once up for not one, but 2 different Batman movie villains. And clue number 3. I was in a very divisive science fiction movie, as well as the movie it was compared with in terms of box office failure. Who am I? So we will post these clues on social media so you guys can see them in print. And this one I would say is a little easier. It's not a gimme, though.
It turned out to be a little easier.
Not
No,
a gimme.
it's. I think you still have to think on this one.
So, guys. So, before we sign off, I do want to say thank you for supporting us through these 100 episodes. We have a ton of people to thank, which we probably will not remember everybody. But, of course, we want to thank everybody that's been on our show with an interview. It's been gracious enough to come on and let us pound you with questions. The original theme park podcast, Coaster Radio, which was the inspiration for the show and what we shamelessly rip off every week.
Yes, Mike and EB have, and they still, to this day, when we have any kind of questions or advice, they're always there and will gladly help us out.
Yeah, it's my favorite theme park podcast, bar none. So if you guys are into theme parks and roller coasters and stuff like that, definitely go check them out. 91 Reasons was the podcast that inspired me to actually go for this podcast, because it's put on by one guy, Jeff Tucker, and his family, and his show let me know that all you really need is a microphone and a computer, and you can make a podcast. You don't have to have thousands of dollars worth of equipment. You just have to have a story to tell, and that greatly inspired our podcast as well. So thank you, Jeff.
And a few puns.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also some other podcasts too, like our good friends, Ride This One and Theme Park Families, who, of course, always willing to give us shout-outs on, we always help each other out. I was just saying this the other day, because we just recently helped out Theme Park Families in particular with something they needed help on, and it's really fun. And they've all literally stemmed again from Coaster Radio, but it's just it's such a good camaraderie that we're always there for each other, helping us out, supporting each other, and it makes it so much easier to do when you're going to always have the support system out there too. And and I guess too we should probably shout just in general some of the other horror podcasts out there. I'm not going to go through all of them because I listen to a bunch, but we've mentioned them before on there. Just the horror community just in general is so great about supporting each other. And it makes it really fun to do horror podcasts because there's so many people that just even just on social media and other formats. It's really just a fun community to be part of.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, I guess I also want to thank probably our most important people is our wives for putting up with our podcasting. So I would love to thank my beautiful wife Olivia. We just celebrated our 17th wedding anniversary.
Nice.
And she puts up with a lot from me because living with me is not easy. I think Brian, we were both in that bucket, right?
Yes. My beautiful wife Julie. We're not together married as long as Tim and Olivia, but she's so many times I've literally commandeered the TV to watch a crazy horror movie. Sometimes she'll join in and watch. Sometimes she'll just kind of sit by doing something and, some of the crazy things that I've had up on that screen. And just, literally that we lose 2 hours sometimes on our Monday nights when I'm just kind of okay, I'm locking myself in the room for 2 hours and talking to Tim. So,
yeah.
But yeah, no, they're great. They're so supportive, and they put up with our other horror purchases and
our puns
and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yes, the puns that we practice on them before we were ready to bring it on on the air and stuff. And then I guess of course now too we another big one we got to give out is to all just a couple of the other people that helped out on our specifically on our show too, such as Paul with the great sound effects, and he's always sending us some great tips of or some stuff to cover, and Tom, who does our great intro that you've heard since episode 1. So thank you, Tom. Ken, and of course Cone, who there's some people that really have helped just have really given us stuff for the show, and either sent us some great stuff to talk about or to actually come on in segments. And I still think we need Ken on.
Yeah, Ken's kind of an unofficial executive producer because he's the one that's quick to call out my mistakes, but he also gives some brilliant suggestions that we have used on the show before of ways to go and directions to go. So yeah, Ken is definitely a very valuable executive producer behind the scenes.
Oh, and of course Seth too for his promotion. He got a ton of listeners for us in Seattle.
Yeah, our
actually.
promo man.
My brother
That's right.
Seth. Yeah. So he still to this day is pushing the podcast for us, which is great. And so we'll have him come on for Evil Dead. So.
And then definitely our super fans, Cody, David, you guys we mentioned quite a bit.
Yes.
Thanks for all the interaction we've had with you behind the scenes.
Yes, Cody's technically our unofficial intern, so she could kind of blend into this. She is.
An
she
intern.
can blend in from the staff to the listener and fan, and she was the first, of course, that first reached out to us.
Yeah,
and we're like, oh my God, Tim, wait. Is that your friend? Yeah. And Tim's like, no. Is that your friend? No, it was someone we didn't know that just really liked our show. And she's still to this day, we have great conversations all the time and funny stuff. And she's, so it's just and any other listeners too, we haven't mentioned too. Thank you for who's ever interacted over the years.
Yeah. And we've got a ton of listeners out there that don't interact or don't post on social media and stuff, but we know you're out there because you're downloading the show. So we of course greatly appreciate your support and for getting the word out about the show. And it's continued to grow month after month, year after year. It's continued to grow. So we're really excited about the future, and we really enjoy doing the podcast. No signs of slowing down anytime soon. So again, thank you guys for 100 fabulous episodes. Actually been a little more than 100 because we've had some mini-sodes and stuff in there, but 100 official episodes, and here's to the next 100, Brian.
Yes, and I will say a thank you to Tim, my great friend and co-host, because he does does all the editing for this. That's a lot more of a task when it comes to me, who rambles and makes a lot of mistakes. So, and just being in general, it's like but both of us, like, and what's great is I think when the other one is maybe like not on their game or a little tired, it takes about 2 seconds before the other one can perk each other up and we're ready to go. And it's like it's funny, you realize, like, sure, it's easy to just show up every Monday to do a show, but the work I think that we do in between the episodes sometimes is really a lot. Like, Tim has come up with a great rundown form and all the editing and stuff like that. So thank you, Tim, for being such a great co-host.
And thank you, Brian, because I would say Brian is the real heart of the show. Brian is, because he puts all the passion into this show, and I love his enthusiasm. I mean, he's what keeps me going. And is always coming up with the excitement and the drive and the stuff that just keeps us propelling forward. So again, thank you, Brian, for being such a wonderful co-host. And here's to another 100 episodes.
Yes, 100 more.
All right, guys. So we're gonna let you go. We'll be back next week with something. We do have some travel plans coming up. So the next couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, we're kind of a little bit up in the air before we hit our summer staycation. We'll keep you guys posted on what exactly that's going to look like. We're still ironing out the details, but we may have some little breaks there where we have mini-sodes or commentaries instead of a full featured episode because of the travel. But we'll keep you guys up to date on what that's going to look like. So until then, don't play with any Ouija boards. Don't say howdy to Captain Howdy, and don't eat any pea soup.
Yes, Timmy.
Timmy, why you do this, Timmy?
Why, Timmy? Why you end the podcast so soon?
Later, guys.
Sorry, Ken. I told you I was stealing it.